He did the Monster Mash.
The Monster Mash.
It was
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I am your host, Joe Neerman, a.k.a. Good Lawgic. I hope you're all doing well. Hope you're having a swell time as we head into the Snap Panic 2025. To me, what was funniest about that is that Trump produced that video. I didn't think it was like that hilarious. It was okay. But like that opening video I gave you there, that was because it's white. That's what makes it really funny. That's what makes it really awesome. That's what makes it great. That's what makes him great. Well, that's one of several things that make him great. He's great for Donald Trump is great for a lot of reasons. A lot of reasons. That's one of them. That's definitely one of them. I got 3 topics tonight, and I even have an offer for you guys here that I will do a call-in show. I will do a call-in show. If in fact we hit our goal, and I'm gonna our goal is our standard 15 yellows within a span of 2 hours, which sometimes hit, sometimes we don't hit. You know, that's what makes it a goal. If it's something we hit every time, it's not a goal. That's just I'm doing it. If it's something that we sometimes hit and sometimes don't, that's what makes it a goal. If you hit like, that's a good thing too. I really do like the like thing. People hitting the like button. I think that needs to happen a lot more than what's been happening because frankly, the like button, it's your friend. The like button likes you. Good karma comes to you. Awesome things come to you. The 3 topics that I plan on covering tonight really help lead towards a healthy conversation for a call-in show, which is one of the reasons I'm hoping we hit the goal tonight. I know it's a late show, and late shows tend to be a little slower. I understand that, but the 3 topics are actually pretty good. The as far as having dialogue about them. Number 1 is that with Snap not restocking people on the first of the month, which is going to be on what? What's that going to be on? Tomorrow's 31st. That's going to be on Saturday. Saturday is the first of the month. From what I understand, that's when people get their SNAP food benefit cards restocked for the month. With the government being shut down, there ain't no money there. USDA said they're not kicking out the funds. They're not allowed to. So the USDA has said. So it seems as if this is something that's going to create a massive crunch on supposedly 42 million people who are on SNAP. They say 1 in 8 Americans. I don't think it's 1 in 8. I don't think it's 1 in 8 because some illegals are getting it. They're not supposed to be. Technically, they're ineligible for it, but I don't know if you can call it 1 in 8 when they say like up to like 10 million of them are not American citizens. Up to 10 million. So if you're counting non-American citizens, there's 450, which means it's like 1 in 12 people living here in the States, right? I mean, you can't have it both ways. It's just not. It's just not. Anyhow, so as far as Americans, if assuming the numbers are right, that there's really 30 million, so that would still be 1 in 12. It's really 1 in 12 Americans. Everyone's saying 1 in 8, but it's really 1 in 12. That's if you just do the math, roughly 1 in 12. Anyhow, the reactions to the expectations for what's going to happen as a result of SNAP benefits being not restocked, because they haven't gotten SNAP benefits since October 1st. Well, the reaction, but they normally are expecting to have that money for a month. You get a full month worth in the beginning of the month, and then you're supposed to get restocked on the first of the next month. So all these folks who are on SNAP they basically, presumably most of them try to parse out for the course of the month to have enough food or money for food for the course of the month. Now, so the expectation is that there's going to be rioting in the streets. Some people taking a TikTok threatening that there's going to be violence in the streets, that there's going to be chaos and mayhem and stores being looted and all sorts of craziness that's going to be happening. So I'm definitely think it's an interesting conversation to have with you as to what your expectations is. Are you taking any steps to try and prepare for that? Especially if you're living in an urban population, are you afraid to that maybe things are going to start going crazy over the next couple of days? Certainly not outside the realm of possibility. We'll talk about some of these TikTok reactions. And I also want to talk about the quartering, where he basically has made a call for something that I think is somewhat controversial, for a recommendation for some folks who are on Snap that I think is somewhat interesting, and it's worthy of conversation, and I can definitely see two sides to the coin as to what he's suggesting. So I'm definitely going to play a clip of him talking about that and get some feedback from you guys on that. That's the first topic that I plan on covering. The second topic I definitely want to cover is the Queen of Stupid, which I assume when I say Queen of Stupid, you knew when you saw that I was referring to Kamala, right? I mean, you knew I meant Kamala. She got a brand new idea. A brand new idea. Oh, God. And just the way she can sell it with no logic, no nothing, just stupid. Well, anyway, we'll look at her idea. I don't expect to spend very long on that part. And the third thing is another story that I think is a really interesting topic, which is the acquittal of a man who has been spending a great deal of time threatening President Trump. And I think that raises all sorts of questions, potential concerns, and issues like that. Those are the three main topics that I plan on covering with you guys tonight. I do think that there's going to be a lot of freedom of speech issues, which I'm going to be discussing with you guys and giving you my thoughts as to how I think a lot of this is much less cut and dry than some other people seem to feel, which I think puts me in the minority. I think that makes me kind of different from a lot of other people, and I think it's probably something that's not beneficial to my overall algorithm numbers, because people like extremism, and I would just deal with what reality is. So extremism is rarely called for in a reality type of scenario. So I'm not sure that I'm down with the extremism. Numbers be damned. Numbers be damned. That's what I tell Lady Logic. She's like, no, numbers are important. You can't just ignore the numbers. I say be damned, woman, be damned. Not her, obviously. She's awesome. So anyhow, but before we get into these main topics, I do have a couple other things I wanted to share with you guys, which I thought was interesting. Libs of TikTok shared this. This is a 12-year-old boy. We're going to be talking a little bit about trans. There's going to be some conversations about trans. Those are the side topics related to trans. It's a 12-year-old boy.
My name is Mason Keckler. I'm a 12-year-old.
Now, I know you're thinking to yourself, he's about to say that he's going to talk about his trans experience because he's 12 years old and he's got the earrings, or the studs, or whatever they call that. Whatever the kids these days are calling those things, the studs. Are they called studs? I think they're called studs. Yeah, so let him speak.
12-year-old 7th grader at Southampton Middle School here in Bel Air. I'm here tonight because I would like to address the issue of allowing transgendered boys full access to the boys' locker room and vice versa. I understand the trans community are being granted full access to the locker rooms and bathrooms, which they identify. My problem is that they're allowed to walk right past me and every other biological male changing. Let's not forget.
Here's a boy. He's not trans. He's bothered by the idea that girls who claim to be trans boys are coming into his locker room.
We are 12. We are all going through changes. We are all self-conscious. I have a hard time enough taking my shirt off at a pool, and now my school is forcing me to strip down in front of girls who have free reign of the locker room. I feel completely uncomfortable and violated. When I attempted to voice my concerns with the administration, I was told she wasn't comfortable having the conversation with me and even chuckled at the thought of my concerns, brushing it off as if what was taking place in my locker room was normal and even appropriate.
As if other 12-year-olds are actually trans. This is the stupidest thing in the world, that they allow a girl to do that, or a boy. This is insane. This is really, really insane.
It was even stated that she would rather relocate all 50-plus boys to a different location in the school to change clothes, just to accommodate 2 female students. Does that make sense to you? As a student, what are we doing when what are we to do when our rights and privacy are being violated and then being mocked by the administrators? All I'm asking tonight is if you are going to allow the females access still to their changing area in the boys' locker room, that a private door or some kind of partition is added so they don't walk through while we are changing our clothes. Everyone should be treated fairly regardless of their gender or identity. Thank you for your time and consideration.
And kudos to him. Obviously he's a 12-year-old kid, and he has insecurity issues. And despite that, he was able to get up there and say that to the board and basically say, what the hell's happening here? That's not an easy thing to say, what he said. That's an open admission. The kid is very brave, very, very brave, that he's able to get up there and say things that a lot of people who are older and younger than him might struggle with. Like, he's embarrassed to take his shirt off in public. So he's like, I don't want to take my shirt off. And I don't even like taking my shirt off in front of boys. And here it is, I got girls in there who are basically claiming that they're trans and they're in my locker room. So what the hell am I supposed to do there? Like, this is insanity. It's awful. It's really awful what they do to these kids. And it's like we have so much respect for some stupid kid who just, says that they're trans. I don't even understand how this whole thing works. So if you're just a boy, you say you're trans and you can just basically waltz through the girls' locker room? That's basically it? How does everyone not realize what a terrible formula this is? How does everyone not realize what a ridiculous formula that is? Oh yeah, so every horny boy could just basically say, no, I'm a girl. I'm a trans girl. And everyone in his friends will be snickering, knowing that he's doing it just to get into a girl's locker room. This is the stupidest thing ever. This is just astonishing how ridiculous this entire thing is. It's really disgusting. It's unbelievable. Well, anyway, kudos to him. Speaking of disgusting, on the same issue here, I stumbled on this woman yesterday, the day before. And this is twice when she was talking about, Charlie Kirk, and she was cheering his death because she's like a frothing at the mouth Neanderthal. I didn't realize she's got like 1.5 million people who listen to her. I don't even know what the hell's going on with that. 1.5 million this woman has. Good golly, these two crazy people. I think they're the ones who introduced me to like the notion of old people saying the word Riz. I was laughing at them then. I'm just going to say, I don't know what that sound is. I don't know where it's coming from.
One thing I want to say about Riley Gaines, as she sits there and has the moral high ground against AOC.
She does have the moral high ground against AOC because AOC is an idiot. And AOC look like, so she does. She has the perfect moral high ground.
When I look at people, if I were to say who's more Christ-like, I would pick AOC and the atheist Jew, Bernie Sanders.
I love how she spits out the word Jew. You bitch. Oh my God. Like if Martin Short and Van Halen had a child, it would be this dude over here. I assume that she was born with a set of X chromosomes. But she comes out here just with her disgusting, awful, like just terrible. Yeah, next to her Rachel Maddow glasses woman. And these people are considered something like, oh yeah, this is something that 1 million people listen to this idiot, this driveling moron who just sits out there saying, oh, I had to say who's more. Yeah. Yeah, okay.
And
just sure, that makes a lot of sense. You want to sit there and basically just go trash on Riley now. Go ahead.
Muslim Zoran Mamdani.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's a lot more like Jesus. All three of them much more like Jesus than Riley Gaines. Much more. Yeah.
a million times over you, Riley Gaines, because Riley Gaines, all you do is hate on people.
No, you're the ones hating. You're hating like a lunatic. We can actually see like the spittle coming out of the corner of your mouth, you lunatics. You're a bunch of sick people. Riley Gaines isn't hating on people. They love to lie and pretend that she's hating on people. She's simply saying, I don't want to be competing with men. That's not hating. That's just calling a spade and saying, hey, I don't want to be competing with no spades. I'm competing with women, and some individual who's got a spade between his legs. I'm not competing with that.
You are wound up like a cheap clock over trans people.
You're wound up like a lunatic about as far as like spitting off about how virtuous, your stupid virtue signaling now, making the world a much far more worse place by enabling and encouraging these people who are so utterly confused about their gender into thinking like, yeah, that's a good thing you should do to completely screw up the rest of your life by doubling down, tripling down, and giving yourself hormones to basically screw up your life. And that somehow you think makes you morally superior when you're actually destroying lives. The lives you destroy the most are the actual trans people. Much more than Riley Gaines and the other people who are now stuck in changing rooms with them or competing against them.
Them no grace, no compassion.
It's not no grace and no compassion. It's not no grace and no compassion, you stupid. God, I hate this woman. I hate this woman. Oh, I really struggle with this. I try not to hate. I can't. Every word that comes out of her mouth makes me just want to
You defend billionaires.
What are you talking about? Defend billionaires. You're sitting here the party of George Soros. They're more 9 out of 10 billionaires are liberals, you jackass.
Cheer and celebrate when children are.
I like that one. Wine Mom Skeletor.
Celebrate when children are zip tied. And
no one's celebrating children being zip tied. They're celebrating removal of illegal aliens.
Then you have the audacity to get on television and try to lecture people who fight for the people that are suffering.
You're not fighting for people that are suffering. You're fighting to make people suffer. That's what you're doing. That's why you're being fought against, because you're fighting to make people suffer. You're fighting to make your fellow citizens suffer. You're fighting to make the very demographics you're purportedly fighting for, you're hurting. You are the problem. You are the problem. She's fighting against folks like you. It's not a matter that she's like sitting here trying to make trans people feel terrible about themselves. It's a matter of saying, hey, look, here's the reality. You need to have fairness. And just because you want to sit here pretending that some dude who tucks his winkle and berries between his legs all of a sudden now is not a dude and should be competing or walking around a women's locker room, that's wrong. But you have no morality. See, when you're sitting there trying to decide who you deem to be Christ-like, when you have backward morality, anyone you think is satanic is probably a really good person because your morals are so utterly inverted. We don't try to convince people who are clearly fools as to what an intelligent perspective is on things, and there's no reason to try and convince someone who has such warped values as to what is good that this is good, because if you do think it's good, if you think something is good and healthy, it's probably really terrible given your history. So yeah, that's actually the biggest compliment.
That stand and put their arms around people that need sanctuary, and you try to act like you're better than they are.
No, she's saying she's better than you. She's not saying better than they are. She's saying better than you. That's the point. She's better than you. And it's hands down, and much better than AOC, much better than Mamdani or Bernie Sanders, the Jew. I love how even when she was complimenting him, this crazy evil Skeletor woman is sitting here. That Jew, dude. In case you forgot, Jesus was Jewish. The Jew, stupid idiots.
You're an insufferable twat.
Oh yeah, you're just a bowl of cherries. You're a bowl of peaches and cream. Idiot.
Nobody likes you, and no matter what, you will always have been the dumb bitch that tied for 5th place. And the only
Oh, this is her laughing at her. Like, oh my God, yeah, that's just hilarious. Yeah, the 5th best swimmer in the country. Oh my God, that's hilarious. That's just hilarious. It's like, I don't even understand the joke. So you think that like someone who comes in 5th in like the Olympics, they're just like a loser? You're so stupid. How shallow can you be? And it's so bitter. So bitter.
The only place that you can get a job is at bottom feeder Fox News, you insufferable twat. Nobody.
You know exactly how the majority of people feel. You see 77 million people vote against your stupid ideology and destroying everything you're standing for. But no one likes Riley Gaines. No, you're on the side of the popular side of justice.
Likes you, except for the other fake Christians that enjoy in their spare time watching children get zip tied and then.
I'm not a fake Christian. And you sit here and you're twisted. Look at the sneer. Look at the angriness, the anger. He's so angry. He's so mad.
Sit there and justify it while they read the Bible with their hideous crucifixes around their necks. So fuck you, Riley Gaines. One thing.
So bitter, so angry, so very, very bitter. Rough day. Ooh, rough day. Santiago Space Outlaw says the goal of Marxists is not to lift everyone to the same level of happiness, but to lower everyone to the same level of suffering. That is 100% true. That's the objective. They fail in that regard, but that is the objective. Yes, let's lower everyone down. It's like it's not a matter. They always try to draw the analogy of like 3 people standing outside of like a baseball stadium trying to watch, and one person is tall enough to watch over the fence, and the other person is like sort of short and standing in a box, and the other person who's like even shorter is on 2 boxes, and they all end up being the same height. And this is something they consider a utopia. And they're all stealing instead of paying for tickets, which is so funny if you think about it. And B, which it's so apt. And B, that's not what they try to do. Instead, they cut off the short guy at the knees and the other person at the hip. They cut off their legs. And that's what they do. That's the whole agenda there. Idiots. Now you're all equal. You're all equal. There's the whole and if you think about it, I mean that practically literally, because the way they balance it out is they take from one side and give it to the other side. They take from one person, give it to the other person. So how are you doing that? So they're basically like cutting off one person's legs and just giving it to the other person. Take their legs. It's not fair. Why should you be born with legs that work? We're going to take your legs off and give them to that person. That's what Marxism is. That's what these lunatics are thinking. Instead of using it with like an actual foot, they use it with your pocketbook, but it's the same thing. That's what they consider justice. Sickos. And then you hear the rationalizations to stuff like this, because that video got some play this morning on X. And idiots like this Alex Cole says, if you took every trans athlete out of sports, no one would have ever heard of Riley Gaines. She owes her livelihood to trans athletes. And that is just the stupidest take in the world. You can see my response below, because I'm like, wow. You are so. I'm not gonna. I don't like repeating myself, so you can read that for yourselves. But another fine point was made by J.K. Rowling, saying Riley Gaines doesn't defend women's rights for attention or money any more than I do. We fight because it's the only thing to do if you're not a coward, a pick me, or a living doormat. Yep, it's true. It's all true. So that's what's actually fair. Like all of a sudden, they've completely forgot about women. Completely forgot about them. They forget about anyone who's not sitting in their camp at the current minute. That's how they operate. And finally, on this little story, I'm going to go on a limb here and say Riley never asked to be put in this position. She had two choices to make at this moment. One, cower down, accept it. Two, have the courage to stand up for what's right and fight back. She chose option two, and I can't speak for everyone, but I'm very grateful for that. Young girls, as a result, have a role model, an advocate fighting to make sure they can compete in a sport they love without having to worry about some dude ranked 400 plus in a men's league coming in and stealing trophies from them. Trophies which they worked their entire lives for, not to mention keeping dudes out of a women's locker rooms, something definitely worth fighting for. Soft and weak men like Alex, who encourage this insanity, are just as much of a problem as the dudes trying to compete with women. And this is the funny thing. It's like they're literally, think about what they're doing here. They're literally bashing a woman for standing up to the patriarchy, right? Standing up to men. I mean, how screwed up in the head have they become? This is a man coming in and bullying women's sports. She's standing up to it, and they're like, no. F you. You finished fifth. Ha ha. So, and in such petty ways. So ridiculously petty and bitter. Screaming at her with expletive after expletive. Just pathetic. She's literally doing what women for the last 5 decades have been told to do, which is don't back down to a man. That's what she's doing. And that's what they're cutting her off for. And now the ones who think they're noble. That's their new nobility. We're gonna hate on a woman who stands up to pop culture and a man. Stand up to a man and stand up to a tide of culture of squawking lunatic folks on the left who are gonna bash you when you come out against this. She had the bravery to do that, and that's what they want to bash her for. Shameful. That is Leah Thomas, or whatever the dude's name is, who beat her in a race. 462nd best men's swimmer in the world. The top women. Kimmy, she's a self-impressed midwit who gets richer the more venom and acid she spews as it eats away at her insides. She was the star of failed reality show Sweet Home Oklahoma. She lives with ex-husband. Okay. All right. I didn't know that she was the star of some reality show. That explains why she thinks she's significant. No promises. Good chance. Okay. No more talking about Riley Gaines. Where were we? Did I make sure? Breck Nichols says, Jesus was a Jew? How dare you? He was a Jew?
How dare you?
You have stolen my dreams. Entire ecosystems are blah, blah, blah. Good to see you, Breck. How dare you? All right. I'm just going to get the Kamala thing out of the way really fast, because this is the one that I have least to talk about. So we're going to get this one out of the way really fast. What Kimmy said about Jesus? Yeah. What did Kimmy say about Jesus? Kimmy spoke about what? I'm confused. What did she say about what? I didn't see her talk about Jesus. When did that happen? I don't know. There's not going to be cackling. I don't think there's cackling. Instead, there's just the circular moving around type of thing. Did I mention I don't remember if I mentioned in my description what she's suggesting here. But what she's suggesting is that we should lower the voting age to 16.
I think we should reduce voting age to 16.
All right, make your case. You got 2 minutes. Make your case. Sell us on it. Why should we lower the voting age to 16? I mean, I know why you would want it lowered. I believe you. I believe you. She's not going to cack. She wants it because she knows that young people are stupid enough to be emotional and basically fall for whatever garbage the left throws at them. But make the case in for those who are not just looking for a basis to like pump up the number of votes of Democrats.
I'll tell you why.
All right, let's do it. Share it with us.
So Gen Z,
right?
their age about 13 through 27.
13 through 27. Okay, I'll take your word for it.
They've only known the climate crisis.
What does that mean? I don't know what that means. They've only known the climate crisis. We don't have a climate crisis. We never had a climate crisis.
They missed substantial parts of their education because of the pandemic.
Not the 27-year-olds. Although I guess if they were in college, they could have missed some time. But okay. All right. So they're uneducated.
If they're in high school or college, especially in college, it is very likely that whatever they've chosen as their major for study may not result in an affordable wage.
So they're making stupid choices when they go to college. So they're making investments that are very poor investments. So whatever it is that they're investing in now, they basically say, okay, I'm going to invest a lot of money in borrowing debt for an education that I will not be able to pay for. So they're displaying a morbid penchant for making poor choices. Go on.
They've coined the term climate anxiety.
These are all reasons. So they're not educated and making foolish choices. This is why we should let more of them vote.
To describe fear of not only being able to buy a home, but that fear will be wiped out by extreme weather, but fear of having children.
No, so they're not even reproducing. So what are they contributing exactly? What are they contributing?
It is expected that Gen Z will have 10 to 12 jobs in their lifetime.
Wow. So like every other young person that basically, I don't even know where you came up with that. I think you just made that number up. But what is that? Like everyone else in society that during the course of their life, they have 10 to 12 jobs. What the hell does that do with anything?
They are a larger number than boomers. They're a specific generation of people.
I don't know what that means. So they're a larger number than boomers. Okay. What does this have to do with lowering it to 16? First of all, most of the people that you described there are over 18. You're going 13 to 27. So I would imagine, just, not looking for, statistically, I would assume that at least 2/3 of them are over 18 already, right?
Who are going to impact our nation and the world.
This has been true of every generation, that the children eventually grow up and get older, and they're going to impact the nation and the world.
And I think we must invest in them, but I think that they are rightly impatient with a lot of what is the tradition of leadership right now.
So we need to have 16-year-old voting because I don't like who is sitting in the White House. Okay.
And if they were able to vote, because they know.
I would have won. That's what she wants to say. If they were able to vote, I would have won. If they voted, I would have won. I would have freaking won. If we just could have had 16-year-olds voting, she wouldn't have won. I would have won. I would have won.
Everything that's happening right now is going to impact them more than anybody older than them, for the most part.
Why do you say that? How do you know that? That's just completely made up.
In terms of how these systems work. If they're voting right now, at 16 and up, they're going to be talking about the importance of climate. They're going to be talking about the importance of figuring out how AI is going to affect the future of the workforce.
And they don't have the brains to figure this out. They can't even figure out that they shouldn't be investing in a college education that can't pay for itself. You want them being part of the decision-making process? That's your argument? Oh my God. Oh my God, she's so stupid. I said she is the queen of stupid. She is the queen of stupid. How?
They're going to be focused on what are we really doing about affordable housing?
What does that mean? They're going to be focused. They don't have answers. They don't have answers other than give us free stuff. That's their answer. Their answer is give us free stuff. That's what do you think? Like any other child, because they're children. This is such a stupid argument. She was a prosecutor, this woman. She was a prosecutor, a lawyer. How can any person get a law degree and be this incompetent?
And basically in politics, here's the hard truth about this. There are two centers of power that tend to influence how politicians think. Groups that vote the most and people who write the most checks.
Groups that vote the most and the ones that wrote the most checks.
And I'm going to go every day with the people. I think we should reduce voting age to 16.
What is that?
I'll tell you why.
Yeah. How do I have that?
So,
oh my God.
Gen Z, their age about 13 through 20.
I don't know what that happened there. But you got the point. I don't know why. I still hear it. You don't, but I do. I need to remedy this. There it is. I just had it twice. That was the problem. That was the problem. That was the problem.
And thinking about how do we strengthen people actually going to the polls and voting.
That has nothing to do with getting younger people to vote. She literally made zero arguments that make sense as to why they should vote. She's like, they're going to be dealing with AI. So what? So what? This is like saying, hey, 5-year-olds, they are the ones who are dealing with roller coasters. 10-year-olds, they're the ones who are dealing with rides. They're the ones who are dealing with sliding ponds. They're the ones who are dealing with playgrounds. We should have 5-year-olds designing playgrounds. That's what we should do because it's affecting them. Statistically, many more 5-year-olds use playgrounds than boomers, Gen X. So they're the ones who should really be deciding what kind of systems we're going to have in these playgrounds. That's because they're the ones it's affecting them. And you might not know this, but during the course of their lives, those 5-year-olds are going to have between 10 and 12 jobs. Between 10 and 12 jobs. So, what she's really trying to say, if you cut away all the Kamala-isms, you cut all that away, what she's really trying to say is, if we had lowered the voting age, I would have won. That's what she's trying to say. Because I'm always going to try and get the more people involved, rather than the ones who are cutting the checks. Not that people weren't issuing way too many checks, banking on her failed campaign, because she went way over budget, just burning through cash. But yeah, this is a woman who's thinking that because they make poor choices on what their majors should be, because they're poorly educated, that they didn't have the same amount of time in school because of COVID, that's why we should give them a vote. We need the really stupidest bottom of the barrel. We should have a cap on IQ of anyone over 85 from being able to vote. So we're going to give the entire country an IQ test. And if you get over an 85, then, you're not the one. Why would you be voting? Why would you be doing that? Anyone who finished college. We want kids who are in college, but not the ones who finished college. Oh my God! It's astonishing. It's astonishing just how they allowed her to ascend that she was the candidate during the summer of Brett. Oh my God! This can be real. It is real. This is our reality. This is totally real. That wasn't even AI. That was her. She's sitting in an interview with a guy who like ends up getting these 2-hour interviews with big people and just sits there softly asking questions. I never remember the guy's name. He's okay. He's like someone who never expresses an opinion. But you know that black guy? I forgot his name. I don't remember his name, but it's a young black man who basically does interviews, these 2-hour interviews with people, and I guess he decided to sit down with Kamala. So this was not AI. That was a real Kamala thing. Having flashbacks. Were you? Sorry. I'm burned by what has been. We dodge bullet. Total deja vu. I feel like I watched Joe do this show almost exactly. It's good to see you, Andrew. It's good to see you, Andrew. Kamala needs to get carbon credit for every time she speaks. Nice. Kamala Harris was a prosecutionist. Mostly involves oral arguments. I know what you're trying to do there. I know what you're trying to do here. It's a family show. It's a family show. It's a family show. She was a prosecutor, for crying out loud. A lawyer. This is... People say DEI. DEI. This is what DEI does. It makes everything about our country worse. Someone like this rises up to be... She spent 4 years, a heartbeat away from the presidency. She was one heartbeat away from the presidency. For 4 years. Okay, fine. Her, even if you say like, look, her candidacy was doomed from the start. Okay, you're telling me we're not going to get someone just as stupid as this within the next 20 years? You tell me we're not going to get something as stupid as that? Because I think we will. I think it's going to come. I think it's going to come. I dread it, but I think it's going to come. All right. Let's get into the whole food stamp the SNAP situation. Oh, sorry. Let me just check out here. Uzan says, Joe, does this mean she thinks they can have a mental capacity to have relations with adults? She's pushing for mapping also. She is. She is pushing for mapping. It's everything she says. It's almost like a megaphone of do the opposite. Nothing that she says seems... every time I just feel like I'm a little bit dumber. I'm a little bit more worried about our future. And she's from my generation. God. Heartbeat away from the presidency. And you all hate... that's why as much as I couldn't stand Biden, I was like, this guy was the most corrupt president ever. Most corrupt president ever. And I was like, I really don't want him to step down. I really don't want them to invoke the 25th. I don't ever want to see President Kamala because I knew she was worse. Much, much, much worse. Much worse. I think that she was the security blankets. Like no one would ever try to come after him. It's like, you're not going to want her. No one's going to want her. She's like Madam Cringe. So, with that, let's get into SNAP. Let's start talking about this. Now, I'm going to tell you, you may have seen some things that are very confusing about the eligibility of illegal aliens to get SNAP. So, by law, so before we go into this, I'm just going to want to be clear here. By law, illegal aliens are not allowed to get SNAP. I'm not saying there isn't any fraud, but I'm saying the law, it starts with that yardstick. So tens of millions of people come in here. They're not eligible for SNAP. They can't say I'm an undocumented immigrant or whatever stupid label they want to aspire to be, and please give me SNAP. That doesn't work. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't backdoor ways for them to get SNAP, some of them, but certainly it means the vast majority of them are not getting SNAP, even if they were financially at a level that they were eligible for SNAP, that they wouldn't be getting SNAP. I don't want to create alarmism just because I want to keep you informed. So rather than alarmism is more fun, But the reality is that by law, they're not eligible for SNAP. Again, I'm sure you'll say, but Joe, there's so much fraud. Joe, there's all this other stuff. And that's possible. That's possible. And I'm not saying that there isn't. There probably is fraud on levels that may be much higher than I think. I'm simply saying it's not like it is an open doorway that they have the right to get SNAP. That's the point I'm getting at. That's the starting point. I also, before I go any further in talking about this story, I want to about this issue, this topic of the potential SNAP panic. I want to point out that I do think that SNAP is, for a certain percentage of SNAP people, is a positive, beneficial thing, probably. I know I said probably, and I do think probably. I do. I think probably. I think I can understand it. I understand it. That it would be, so that's why I think it's a positive, beneficial thing. And people need it. And I'm not crazy about the idea about some people who basically, are young and capable of working, spending the rest of their lives on SNAP. That doesn't seem like what the point of the program is. But there are some people who, let's say, for one disability or another, it could be literally like mental incompetence, which, I think it was, just talking on that topic for a moment. Let's just think this through for a second. I think it was Jordan Peterson who basically, when he was talking about the value of IQ, and he said that there's no better indicator of future financial success than IQ. That doesn't mean it's always going to perfectly track, but as far as future success, there is no better indicator than IQ. And when you talk about IQ and try to figure out, is the people on the right, conservatives, they tend to think, well, everyone needs to get a job. And everyone could get a job. They could be trained well enough. They're trying hard enough. And that tends to be a position that traditionally conservatives have had. People on the left tend to be of a perspective that any person can do anything. And both of those are equally wrong. Both of those are untrue. That's just not reality. So, and he made the point, and I'm not going to go through the whole speech that I saw him talking about this. It was like a 15-minute thing. I could have just played it for you instead. But the idea and the key point I want to get from this is he talks about how when the Army, he said, think about the Army, which they would take anyone who's willing to come, right? Anyone who signs up, they would take anyone who's willing to come. And they found, because they tried a program, I think in the 60s or 70s, where they were bringing in low IQ people and training them. And what they found was that the amount of return as far as work product that they could get from low IQ persons, people who had a below, I think out of 85 IQ, people at a below 85 IQ, it was not worth the cost of training them and was not worth the work product that they could end up producing. So he's like, if this is an organization which is really, has the resources to train whomever, and they find that it's just not worth it, you have to ask yourself, if it's not worth it for the Army to train them, well, what private industry could it be possible that they're going to be useful members of society? And the answer is there probably is nothing. And this is like he claims it's like roughly like, I don't know, 5 to 10% of the population. I don't know the exact numbers. I'm throwing numbers out here. Don't hold me to account on the numbers, but there is a certain percentage of the population which you can't just utterly ignore. So that's why when I say mental incompetence, what I'm saying is that there are people who just, they're not worthwhile to train even to be waiters and your typical unskilled laborers, right? Unskilled labor, in contrast from skilled labor. So I look at, when I talk about blue collar jobs, I think of skilled laborers. And that could be in construction, it can be in mechanics, it can be in any of a myriad of areas where it could be in plumbing, electrical, it doesn't matter. The point is that those all require some level of training and intellect. And I talk about the nobility of the blue collar work like that. In contrast, someone who, let's say, couldn't, I guess that, someone who's got a very low IQ spending a lifetime mopping, or I don't know, but I don't think that would pay, that they could cover their expenses. And the point that I'm getting at is, I think that the humanity in us, I can respect a country saying, we're going to make sure that these people are not going to starve to death. And I think there's nobility there. I think that's something that we could take pride in. You want to be technical, people will say, well, that's stealing from people, it's not whatever. That level of stealing, to the extent that you call taxation theft, that level of stealing, I can swallow, as far as a society just taking care of those who genuinely cannot take care of themselves. They just don't have a capacity to take care of themselves. So there is a percentage out there like that, who basically from the time they're 10 years old, you can tell that they're not going to be able to take care of themselves. The Forrest Gumps of the world, they can't take care of themselves. That's just reality. So in that sense, I think SNAP is a beneficial thing. And I worry for these people that they're not going to be able to, I don't know what they're going to do. So I don't want anyone to think that I'm making a joke about this situation at all. I don't think that this situation where you got folks who are running out of money for food because it's the end of the month, and because Democrats are trying to make a point I don't think that this is something that is at all a funny situation. That's where I want to start. On the other hand, it does seem as if there's a significant percentage of SNAP beneficiaries who are looking to game the system. Because anytime there's an opportunity to game a system, there are going to be folks who are going to do it. And I think that there's probably a significant percentage of both. I'll even go out there and I'll say, okay, so if you have a certain number of percentage of people who are not American citizens, so those people I don't care about, because I think Americans should look out for Americans. And people will say, but they're a human being. Okay, well, go back to your country. That's part of American privilege. So those people I don't really feel for. And it doesn't matter how their age, their gender. It's reality as far as what we, if those people can rely on a soup kitchen and people want to give, okay. So I say power to them, but not that you should force Americans to cover that. That's my perspective on it. And there are some people who I think basically are trained to game the system from the time that they're young and not to actually try to dig themselves out of their financial hole. So we're going to see some videos here from some folks, and I just wanted to get some of the facts out of the way before I jump into this topic so that no one should misunderstand how I feel about, the SNAP benefits and where they're coming from. But so if you have 25% of people on SNAP, and this is according to Newsmax here, which says that Newsmax host Rob Finnerty just said no one in mainstream media will admit about SNAP. He tore the mask off of the entire food stamp program, and what he revealed will infuriate taxpayers. This is what he says. And I have questions. I have a lot of questions about what this guy is claiming. So let's listen very carefully.
42 million people in this country that need food stamps on a weekly basis. And we're saying people deliberately instead of Americans, because most of the people that are on food stamps aren't even from this country.
That's a very bold claim.
45% of Afghanistan immigrants are on food stamps.
45% of Afghan immigrants. So these are people, these are not illegal aliens. These are people who are immigrants.
Afghanistan immigrants are on food stamps.
You have to listen. You have to listen very carefully to what he's saying.
42% of Somali immigrants, 34% of every immigrant from Iraq, 23% of Haitians, 59% of all illegal aliens are collecting food stamps.
59% of all illegal aliens are collecting food stamps. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. That doesn't make sense to me. That sounds crazy. That sounds crazy. So you're saying we had 20 million under Biden. You're saying 12 million of them are getting food stamps? I don't believe that.
Meaning that most of the people getting food stamps from the U.S. government and the U.S. taxpayer are not even Americans.
No. You see, this doesn't make sense to me. First and foremost, it sounds like you're adding on the numbers from the illegals that you think are getting together with the Afghans. I don't buy these numbers.
Think about that. And we didn't know about any of this before the government shutdown started. But thanks to Democrats, we can confirm tonight that millions of Joe Biden illegal aliens, people who crossed the border when Joe was president, are now collecting food stamps from a program funded by hardworking American taxpayers. There are 40.
I'm very curious about his sources here. I'm very, very curious. 45% of Afghanistan immigrants are on food stamps. 42%. So first of all, if they're immigrants, once they're immigrants, you can tell me that that's a flaw in our immigration system, because the immigration system is supposed to weed out people who are indigent. This is something that we had weeded them out. Whatever they decided, whatever the French started to write on the Statue of Liberty, be damned. It says, give us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, because our immigration laws never said that we're okay with bringing in poor folk. And the ability to stand for yourself is part of our immigration process. So if you tell me that such a high percentage of any demographic, whether they're Afghani, Somali, Iraqi, or anyone, is incapable of sustaining themselves, that is a reflection of a broken immigration system, irrespective of the illegal aliens. That means the people we're allowing in here, because these are Americans now. If they're Afghanistan immigrants, these are not illegals from Afghanistan. These are immigrants. I'm assuming you're talking about people who are eligible because they're now American citizens, in which case you can't tell me, now that we did bring them in here, you can't tell me that they shouldn't be eligible. We're always saying that immigrants are Americans. And I would just want to caution, because I saw this, and when I saw this, I got upset when I first saw it. I was like, this is crazy. How do we have 10 million illegals, 12 million illegals? 59% of all legal aliens are collecting food stamps. When I first saw this story, I was angry about it. And then I started looking into it, and I was like, and one of the first things I learned is they can't get food stamps. So there's no way that nearly 60% of them, 3 out of 5 of them, are getting food stamps. As our system is not that broken. Now, there are non-Americans getting food stamps. There are non-Americans getting SNAP benefits. That's true. There are ways for them to get it. And if you tell me you have a problem with that, I'm on board with you with that. I don't want non-Americans getting SNAP benefits. There are some who are getting it. That's very different from, but those are people now who are legally here in the country. So they basically have a visa to get into the country. They're not American citizens. Perhaps they're in the process of becoming American citizens. Perhaps they're visiting here for a few months. But there are people who are visiting our country who are eligible for food stamps. You tell me you want to cut those people off and not give them food stamp, not give them SNAP anymore. I say to you, bravo. I'm on the same page with you. Let them go back to their countries and figure it out there. What do you come here so that we can feed you? Like, we let you into our country, so the purpose that we should just, fill your belly? That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Because there's an unlimited supply of poor people and starving people in the world. I grew up watching commercials of like how every person living in Africa was starving. So we should just bring the whole continent in here and just feed them all. No, so that I don't accept. That I think that needs to be carved out. But I think that these numbers here seem a little bit difficult to justify. So, and yeah. And it was really, I think it was something like this on that you see on the screen here, the myth versus fact, which made me start actually looking into it. Because I was like, all right, let me see this. Now, even if you look at this food stamp myths, it says people who get SNAP don't work. That's the myth. Fact, the overwhelming majority of SNAP recipients who can work do work. Okay, but the overwhelming majority would be 60-40. That doesn't mean that you don't have 40% of the people who can work and don't. So that's really not answering anything. SNAP is a drain on taxpayers. That's the myth. Every dollar in SNAP benefits generates $173 in economic activity. That's stupid. That's dumb. That doesn't mean it's not a drain on taxpayers. That's the stupidest thing in the world. So take all of my money and that we'll have more economic activity. That's the dumbest thing in the world. That's your classic Democratic way of trying to manipulate economics for the purposes of telling you that when you're living homeless on a street, how wealthy you are. SNAP is rife with fraud and abuse. SNAP has a fraud rate less than 3%. I don't know how you know that. The lowest of any public benefit program. I don't know how the hell you would know that. This is why you can't trust them. But I did look into this. SNAP benefits go to undocumented immigrants, and they are never been eligible for SNAP. Never being eligible for SNAP doesn't mean that not any of them are getting it. But I do think it's true that they are ineligible. And yeah, again, you should never look at some stupid little snapshot, Photoshop thing that someone creates as having any sort of impact on your way of thinking. But it can alert you to sort of look into other things. And that's why I'm saying, like, I started looking into this, and I did learn that illegal aliens are ineligible for SNAP, and that's a good thing. They should not be eligible for SNAP. There's no reason they should be on. We should be funding their. And then they would. This is, who cares about the race? This is the stupidest thing in the world. I don't care if they were white illegal aliens. No one cares. No one except the left cares. All right. Now, let me catch up. Before I go further in this conversation, let me just catch up on some of the chats that have been building up here. She was the insurance policy, 100%. Then what kind of preloaded debit card was New York City giving the illegals when they checked them into hotels? I was on food stamps for a while waiting on my SSDI adjudication. It was embarrassing. I think a lot of people who probably have been on food stamps at one point or another. And no one wants to be on that. I mean, no one has aspirations of working ever wants to be on it. $85 IQ is one standard deviation from 100 according to the IQ testing model. So about 16% of the population is less than 85 IQ. Yeah, maybe it was 80 IQ. It might have been 80 IQ when he was explaining it, as far as like what their testing showed. I remember him mentioning 85 IQ, and I do remember that like 15 points being a standard deviation, so I could have that number wrong. But the point he was saying is there's a noticeable percentage of people who are incapable of even being beneficial drones for the Army. Like, it's not worth it to the Army for them to bring it in. Do you like orange drink, Joe? Yes, I do, actually. Although I don't, it's okay. It's okay. I don't even know. That was very unusual. Access reported Dems will magically reopen government after Tuesday's election as they headed out of town today to avoid snap ire expected Saturday. The Tuesday election. They want people angry and voting? They figure they'll be angry at the Republicans when they vote. That makes sense. Don't make fun of me. Don't make fun of me. I don't think it's that level of broken. It's not that type of broken. It's not that. That was my point. That would have been a better way to phrase it. It's not that type of broken. It's a different type of broken. Santiago says he said it was actually detrimental below 83, worse to have them than to not have them, which is 16%. I think 85 was 16%. So it is like it's like 10% of the country, I think. It's tens of millions of people. Tens of millions of people. Joe, think of it this way. We call them illegals and they call them refugees. Refugees can't get food stamps. True. It's a good way of putting it. Good way of putting it. Oh, wow. The Digger playground is a tomb. What happened? What happened? Was it something? Was I standing like this? So, now, some people are saying that HHS was encouraging illegal aliens to sign up for SNAP benefits. This is what was playing during the Biden administration.
SNAP is a nutrition program that helps with the cost of healthy food. Enrolling your eligible children in these programs will have no effect on the immigration status of you or anyone in your family, including applications for a green card or for U.S. citizenship. Any information you provide on the application will only be used to determine your child's eligibility. This information will not be shared with immigration enforcement. SNAP is a nutrition program.
So I think what happens is this. There are some illegal aliens who are getting it. I think they say like 4% of SNAP is going to illegal aliens, or some estimation like that is what I saw. I had a whole thing where I was like trying to look into this. It's hard to get actual numbers because the reality is that if they're living in a house with people who are here legally, so in that case, I'm not sure if there's a bulk up because the level, your SNAP benefits, I think, increase based on how many people are there. So I think you're not eligible perhaps to get it if you are, and this again is how I can understand one potential way that I think it's possible for illegal aliens to cheat the system is if they sort of are like an add-on living in a house with someone else who's on SNAP. So when they say they're ineligible, yeah, but then the question is how closely are they looking? If you have a household where they say we have 6 people living in a house and they neglect to mention that 4 of them are illegal aliens, so in that case, you know, that those 6 people are now getting, they're bulking up from, instead of having SNAP benefits for 2, they have SNAP benefits for 6, and that would be an improper way of taking SNAP benefits. Now, I'm not saying that this is something, but I think the number of 59% of illegal aliens, that to me is insane. I don't think that number is accurate. I don't know where he comes up with that number. Even the number of immigrants that he's citing there is minority. So to say that 59% of them are, now I think that when Kimmy raised this point, she's like, New York City was giving illegals when they checked them into hotels. There's a difference between state funding for food programs or housing or shelter or clothing than federal funding. So it could be that the state and or city of New York were giving benefits to illegals and debit cards to illegals. That I think was certainly happening here. We're talking exclusively about the federal SNAP program as to where those funds are going. Now, that doesn't mean you should be any less outraged about New York wasting their money on illegal aliens. You should be outraged that they were staying in hotels, in these luxury hotels, and basically taking over hotels. And the entire setup there was outrageous. I'm not faulting you for being upset about that. But for tonight, because of the federal government shutdown, we're really fixated on the impact of people in society and American society as we come to the end of the month of a month-long shutdown here. where they're not going to see a refill of their SNAP cards. So that's why. But I do think that many states, New York, I'd be surprised if they don't have some sort of state assistance for illegal aliens. Now, you want to be outraged about that? I'll march right there next to you. I'm just saying, to the extent we're focusing on how SNAP money is being abused, they're technically ineligible. Are there loopholes to get around it? I think there probably almost certainly are, but they're technically illegal. And that's fair. And as far as reimbursements that states may get, that's possible too. So it's really not really much of it. Your point that I think the point Kimmy is making is great. So the state of New York foots the bill and then comes back to federal government and says reimburse us. And I can't rule out that happening. There's so many government programs that I can't tell you that I've never even looked at, that for me to tell you that this is happening or is not happening is really out of my wheelhouse. So I can't tell you that that's not happening. How do we know if it's state funding their SNAP or the federal government? The federal government helps fund SNAP. Well, that's the point. That's the point that I was trying to make, that SNAP is a federal program. So that's the one everyone's focusing on because the federal government shutdown. But the extent that your state is, I don't know how states, I think what we've seen different states, like Kathy Hochul saying that we're going to keep stepping up and sending our money out. I think they're expecting they're going to ultimately get reimbursed, but they're like, we're going to pitch in here because we're the good guys. So that's what Kathy Hochul was basically coming out and saying, that New York is going to step up, and I'm sure a lot of the leftist states are taking similar suit. But this is an opportunity to see how people are reacting to this entire SNAP scenario here. New York Post is reporting on this situation. Fuming SNAP recipients threaten to loot if food stamps are cut November 1st. Quote, stay the F out of my way. Let me give you one of them right here. Is this the right one? Nope, that's not the one I want. Nope, not her. Is this it? Nope. I'm going to have that twice. This is the one I wanted.
If I came in your house with all my bags, picking out all your food, deep freezer, snacks, your grandmama's milk, and everything, what you gonna do? I'm curious. What you gonna do? If I was to walk in your house and go grocery shopping in your shit, if I came.
I don't know. If you're breaking into my house, there are answers. But this has had a lot of people talking a lot of different ways, having a lot of different thoughts about the whole SNAP program in general.
Food stamps gone. Section 8 gone. All your SNAP and EBT benefits gone. Now you got to go back to Tyrone. Woo! I think this is great. We have just single-handedly saved the black family. Why? Because Tasha can't run out on Tyrone anytime she get mad and think the government going to take care of her. Tasha can't leave Tyrone and think that the kids going to eat. Tasha can't leave Tyrone and think she going to get a free rent. Tasha can't depend on the government because years ago, black women turned their back on black men for government assistance, for food stamps, for Section 8, for welfare, for WIC, for all the things that black men bring into their household. They said, no, we don't need that. I'll go file to the government and they'll give it to me. Trump said, hell no. Woo! Now you're going to have to start choosing better. Woo! Now women are going to have babies with men that actually want to have babies with them. Woo! Now women are going to have to vet their partners and not be able to just hit them up for a check every time and think they can live off the government. Woo! This shit amazing. You're going to see more wives and less baby mamas. You're going to see more two-parent households because it's going to be a family unit because success is a team sport. You're going to see women go back to their men, go back to their child's father and try to work things out and not childishly run out to the next nigga. Why? Because Donald Trump and the government don't got your back no more. Because you can't go over there and get free food stamps and sell them.
It's not Donald Trump. He didn't shut down the government. Everyone here is saying it's Donald Trump. Donald Trump didn't shut down the government.
It's just 40 for the 80. Because you don't have a $72 rent anymore. Because now you're going to have to figure it out. And the only person that's left is that black man that you walked out on years ago. And the price of pussy going down too. Donald Trump did it with this one. And I'm here for it. Queens, go back to your kings and work it out. Baby mamas, go back to your baby daddies and become wives. It's time for us to work together. This is actually amazing. No longer will you be incentivized by quitting on your household. No longer will you be incentivized by quitting on your marriage. No longer will you be incentivized by quitting on that black man. You are no longer incentivized to leave. So baby, you either pay or stay. That ugly money. Interesting people to come on my podcast. I need some interesting people to come on my show. You got a story to tell. You got a product to promote. You got an album releasing or a single. Hey, man, come on the Ugly Money Podcast. One of the biggest podcast platforms in the Southeast. It's bigger than radio. I do more views than TV. You definitely want to tap in. Just DM me the word interview. Pound sign interview. Don't come broke. No, you know what I'm saying? Let's go viral. It's like this clip right here that you just seen. Yeah. See? It could have been you. You was playing. You about 3.5 a minute. Capping like it's gas. Dumbass.
I like this guy. He doesn't really know exactly. I like his perspective. He's right. He's right. If there wasn't such government benefits, families would be staying together. They would be. So as New York Post is reporting, though, not everyone's having the same reaction as that gentleman was. SNAP recipients taking TikTok are threatening to loot grocery stores if their food stamp payments don't go through on November 1st due to the government's shutdown. I'm going to tell you straight up like this. I just got the text. This link has definitely cut the F off for November. You all better stay the F out of my way in these stores because I'm walking out with carts and I'm not paying for crap, one angry SNAP recipient fumed on TikTok. Another added, you know what? Since they want to take food stamps away, I'm going to go to effing Walmart, grab anything I damn want. Put the S right in the basket, walk right out that bit. I'm not paying for a damn thing, said another. Approximately 42 million Americans, or 1 in 8 million nationwide, that's not true, receive Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program payments, formerly known as food stamps. The payments, which average $350 per month per household, are deposited monthly on debit cards that can be used on groceries and other food at supermarkets and convenience stores. But those benefits are set to be cut off November 1st after Democrats voted for the 13th consecutive time to keep the federal government closed Tuesday. The Senate, which needs 60 votes of the government funding measure to pass, rejected the GOP-backed bill with a 54-45 vote. An announcement went out via text message last week to SNAP beneficiaries, warning them of the imminent pause in the program, prompting a flood of videos angrily denouncing the move. Quote, I'm going to be stealing like it ain't no tomorrow. I'm going to have one of my cousins. I assume that this is probably some Asian because they're the ones who are usually threatening like this. I'm going to have one of my cousins with me that'll punch your ass so hard they'll think Jet to Holiday hit your BS. If you think ain't going to walk out that store, a reference to a UK-based budget air travel provider. Oh. Another woman blamed President Trump for the closure because they all think it's Trump. Trump done effed up. Let's just make it clear, okay? He's talking about people not getting food stamps in November and probably not December. You probably get ready because it's about to go down, she said. What you're going to learn is you don't play with black people's food stamps, okay? So get ready because people are about to just start taking crap. SNAP benefits have never been cut off before due to government shutdown. During previous shutdowns, 2018-2019, the USDA paid out distributions early to avoid any delays in payments. The USDA announced last weekend that it would not tap into a $6 billion in contingency funds to keep SNAP funded for another month. The Trump administration said earlier this month that it would divert revenue from tariffs to continue WIC and some other programs for women and children. Shortly after the USDA's SNAP decision, 26 states, including New York, filed suit accusing the department of illegally cutting off food assistance and seeking a temporary restraining order to force it to use contingency funds to keep the program solvent. Quote, SNAP is one of our nation's most effective tools to fight hunger. USDA has the money to keep it running. There is no excuse for this administration to abandon families who rely on SNAP or food stamps as a lifeline, according to embattled New York Attorney General Letitia James. Federal government must do its job to protect families. All right, well, far be it from me to ever think Letitia James actually cares about what happens to anyone. Let's hear from some more folks here who are not too happy about the SNAP situation. But I have a question for some of y'all. We're going to get to that very soon. Sorry about that.
Tell me they're lying. I need somebody to fucking tell me they're lying. I need somebody to fucking tell me they're lying right fucking now, because what the fuck do you mean that I'm not gonna get my fucking SNAP benefits? What the fuck do you mean? Because what the fuck is happening? Do you understand that there are people like me who cannot work? Do you understand there are people like me who have kids who cannot eat? Do you understand there are people like me who go hungry the last week of the month just so my kids can't eat? Because SNAP benefits is all we fucking get. I need somebody to please fucking tell me he's lying. I can't. What the fuck am I gonna do?
Girl, get your butt up off the ground. Get off the floor. Trump did not take away your food stamps.
That's true.
Girl, do people not read? Donald Trump did not take away anybody's food stamps. He didn't stop anybody from getting Medicaid or Medicare.
It's like Terrence is checking up on her. He's like, "Are you okay down there? You okay down there?" I'm trying to look around Terrence. Is she okay?
Girl, get up and grow up, wash those dishes, then wake up in the morning and go look for a job, because you clearly need a job.
Yeah. She does clearly need a job. But I got one or two more of these. One or two more.
For people who don't know, whatever, I'm a nurse, but I'm still on food stamps with my kids. So as a nurse in Arizona, we are still struggling, and we just got the text that it's not coming through.
Miss Ma'am, what is this though? So you admitted that you bought NFL tickets for the Chargers and that you put them on a credit card or whatever the case is. But now you're sitting up on this app, bitching, whining, and crying about your food stamps? Miss Ma'am, you are exactly the type of person that we are talking about.
Preach
Priorities.
it. Preach it.
Fucking priorities are buying NFL tickets.
Yeah.
Not making sure that you are extra stocked up for the children that you chose to have. Good job.
So, as far as the children she chose to have, no one really can plan for where they're going to be financially 5 years down the road. So I disagree with her on that. That doesn't really make sense. No one, it's impossible for anyone to know what the financial straits are going to be a few years down the road. One more of these before I get into Jeremy Ham, to the quartering and what some of the comments he made, which I'm not sure I agree with.
Now you're threatening us, talking about if they get rid of the SNAP, but I'm gonna start stealing. Ain't that what you been doing? You been stealing, huh? You been stealing. We're not gonna talk about every time I turn around and look on the internet, y'all stealing in Walmart, you're stealing in Walgreens, you're stealing in CVS, you're stealing everywhere. What is you talking about? That ain't no threat. You've been stealing. Let's not talk about the fact that most of y'all got Section 8 vouchers that are not even yours. You got 2, 3, 4 generations of Section 8 vouchers that you're using for somebody who ain't been in that Section 8 house in probably 10, 15 years. So let's not talk about, oh, you gonna start stealing. You done made a whole career out of stealing. At this point, you should be in retirement. You should be looking to retire from your stealing career. Ain't nobody afraid of you talking about you gonna go steal. And while you're stealing, please get you a loaf of bread. Oh my God, today, Ibo Boshando. Please get you a loaf of bread, ho.
What? What?
And some bologna, and a little bit of cheese, mayo, Miracle Whip, whatever the hell it is that you like. Since you're stealing, steal you some Dijon mustard. And make you a sandwich and shut the hell up. Because what I want you to hear me say is nobody give a damn about your threats about you stealing something. We used to your fucking ass stealing. Then you mad because we don't want illegal people also over here stealing. We got to deal with your stealing and we got to deal with illegal people stealing too. What the hell is going on here? We sick of this shit. You know what? It's all right. Go get you a sandwich. Go somewhere and sit down. November 3rd, make sure you register us with Sandwich Day. We're going to be on Zoom, and we're going to have the kind of conversations that we want to have. We're going to be talking about these people like a dog. We're going to talk about a lot of other things, too. But we're going to...
So there you go. That's coming November 3rd. That's coming November 3rd. Now, what I really want to talk to you about is what the quartering says here. And I want to get your opinion on this. I'm going to be asking you for your opinion. Because he had a thing saying Walmart responds to Snap riot threats and hood rats threaten to rob the suburbs. So, okay. All right. We're going to play just the last couple of minutes of this video. What he said about Walmart is Walmart said they're staying open. They're not intimidated, so they're staying open. So you don't have to worry about Walmart being closed. At least that's what they're claiming. And it was massively expanded during COVID. That was part of what he was saying, which means like a third of our Snap is probably thoroughly waste.
Outrageous and disgusting.
But he's going to say something here that I disagree with. And I want to get your thoughts on it as to what should happen to these people who threaten to break the law.
That you can, being illegal, come into this country, have an anchor baby, and that anchor baby can get SNAP benefits?
That's true. So if you have an anchor baby, now that baby is deemed a citizen, and because of that citizen, you now can get SNAP benefits, which likely is going to help, you know. That's true. And by the way, I want to, before I go any further, I want you all to know I like the quartering. I think in general, he's a pretty good guy. I have no problems with the quartering. I even had a phone call with him like, I don't know, 4 or 6 months ago. He called me up out of the blue.
I mean, is that what the program was intended for? Like, here, woman asks, what did you think was going to happen with food stamps? Because again, what do you notice? Another obese person.
So y'all motherfuckers want to cut off the food stamps.
Go to work.
Cut off the food stamps in the most important month that motherfuckers need food stamps.
No, it isn't. By the way, there is no more important month than the month that you're in if you need food stamps.
That's true. This part I agree with. That's true. There's no month that's more important.
Saying because of Thanksgiving, you don't have to have a Thanksgiving dinner. Plus, a lot of times people go to other people's houses for Thanksgiving. And you don't need
Thanksgiving is the easiest time to get, one of the easiest days of the year to get a free meal.
Giving feasts to live. You need beans and rice to live.
What did you think was going to happen? I live in Philadelphia.
Yeah. The second highest murder rate state in the country. Yeah, go on.
What do you think is going to happen? Well, there's people out here riding, stealing, and all this shit. Where you think I'm going to be?
Rioting,
yeah,
stealing?
Here's my list, sir. Here you go. Thank you very much. Give a motherfucker $10. They come out with the whole fucking Thanksgiving dinner. Play with me.
Play with you. I would just ask that, our government arrest the people that are breaking the law. When these
Okay.
people are going online and issuing threats of breaking the law, there should be a penalty for that. I think the penalty should be an automatic ban from all government assistance. You don't even have to, you don't even have to criminally charge them. If you receive SNAP or food stamps or any other type of government assistance, and you're going online and telling other people to commit crimes or claiming that you're going to commit crimes, then you should lose access to these. I also think you should drug test everyone who gets this stuff too. You see what happened during the COOF, the food snap.
Okay, so that's the part I had a problem with. That's the problem of what he said that I had a problem with. He says people who threaten that they're going to commit crimes or inspire others to commit crimes, that they should lose access to SNAP. And this is an opinion. He's not the only one who said this. A lot of people have said similar things. I have a little problem with that because unless they're engaging in incitement to commit a crime, which it's hard to argue that they are as far as time, place, and manner, because I'm not saying go out now and loot your local store. But the idea that, to me, this seems like a freedom of speech thing. And someone making claims, empty claims potentially, about what they're going to do if there's no SNAP, that's freedom of speech. And to say now that will make you ineligible for SNAP benefits, how is that not the government trying to curtail speech? My fear of curtailing speech certainly exceeds concerns about a bunch of clowns going on the internet and going on TikTok and saying that they plan on stealing from their local Walmart if they don't get their EBT on Saturday. Now, I can go along with saying they should be drug tested. I can go along with that. In other words, let's make sure that they're not, using your SNAP funds for drugs. If you have money for drugs, you have money for food. If you have money to feed your head, you have money to feed your belly. So, yeah, I can totally say give them drug testing. That definitely. I like that. I like that idea a lot, actually. The more I think about it, the more I like it. But the idea that we would say, this is what I'm really curious what you guys think, that people who are threatening that they're going to loot, do you think, or someone, let's say, who ends up stealing, let's take it one step further, that now they should be forever banned from getting SNAP. You guys think that makes sense? You guys think that that's the way we should be going here? I'm not talking about the fraudsters. If you focus exclusively on the fraudsters and think that SNAP is a program which is just that everyone who's on it is engaging in fraud, well, in that case, you don't want SNAP in general, right? I mean, I wouldn't. If you tell me there's a program which is just all fraud, or 97%, vast majority of it is fraud. So we're all on the same page that we don't want that. We don't want anyone eligible to be able to defraud us. That's not any insightful perspective. But if you're taking a perspective that, let's say, even 30% of the people on SNAP are genuinely in need and good faith participants in the SNAP program, 70% bad, 30% good. And perhaps we should be doing a much better job of weeding out the bad from the good, and we're not. Okay, but I'm talking about 30%, let's say, are Americans who genuinely are trying to survive, not being ridiculously wasting their money on charger tickets or other stuff, but that they're actually just struggling to survive. And, to the extent that they're able to work, go out and work. So let's assume that number is as high as 30%. Perhaps that's a little pie in the sky thinking on my part, but let's assume it's as high as 30%. So now, I'll ask you, if someone like that was to go out and say, I need to feed my kids, So I'm going to steal. And I'm going to do that. And then they get arrested for that. They get arrested from stealing from Walmart next week. And then 2 weeks later, their SNAP benefits basically get reinstated. The federal government reopens. You're going to say, well, because you stole, now we're going to say because you said you were going to steal. This is according to the quartering. Because you told everyone on TikTok, hey, I'm going to be stealing if I can't do this. Now you no longer are eligible for SNAP. I got real problems with that. I'm watching the chat here to see what you guys are saying. Hi, my name is Joe. Welcome to the following program. First and foremost, I do not watch Fox. Most of my audience doesn't watch Fox. Most of my audience distrusts Fox. I know you're relatively new, and I appreciate you subscribing to the channel. And I appreciate feedback, and this seems like good faith attempt at feedback by Keith335 to interact with the audience in ways that are not childishly ad hominems, but basically, this is a comment which is designed, which is rooted in a feeling that Keith had. I'm going to tell you right now, you're mistaken about a hatred for the poor. It's not a hatred for the poor. It's a distrust of the system. And it's not because of Fox. It's because there's been plenty of reasons for us to distrust it, given the numerous lies that we've heard from our government, numerous exposures of there being incredible amounts of waste and fraud, numerous expenditures of waste that our government has made, numerous times that our government and legacy media has lied to us. So when you get snapped when your hand gets snapped over and over and over and over and over again, at a certain point you're like, I don't really trust a lot of what's going on out there. Now, it's not because we're saying, oh, I trust Fox. If you caught the beginning of my show or the beginning of this segment here, I actually played a segment from Newsmax that I was like, I don't think that's true, what he's telling us here. So it's not a matter of just blindly trusting. It's a matter of opening our eyes and saying, what makes sense? But when this part over here, you say, hate the poor and less fortunate, don't assume that you understand the mindset of myself or others, that there's no, why would I hate the poor? Why? If you saw the beginning of this segment, you heard me extend great sympathy for people who are poor. I was talking about how some people, that there's reasons that some people probably are destined to a life of poverty based on a lack of general competence. Most of what I say here is reflected in the thinking of people who tend to watch me also. I'm not calling you out to embarrass you at all, Keith. I'm calling you out to enlighten you, because I want you to come back and I want you to have a better understanding as to how I think and my audience thinks. And this is the only way we can start bridging the gap of people on other sides, on different sides of the aisle. So I'm glad you're here. I assume since you're in the chat here, did I set it up that people have to be, I don't know if I remember setting that up. I didn't turn subscriber only mode. I am turning subscriber mode on only, but I'm hopeful that you'll stay and that you'll subscribe and that you'll hang out and chat. Anyhow, but I am curious about what you guys think as far as the notion of shutting off SNAP benefits for people who threaten to steal because SNAP has been put on hold. That's my question for you. We're halfway to our goal. That's a good sign. That's a good sign. But the window of opportunity, if you're interested in me having the call-in show, is quickly closing. So we'll see what happens. I'm just reminding you that I plan on opening up for a call-in show for up to an hour if we can basically turn into a 3-hour show. But I'm going to set up a poll here, which is, do you agree with the quartering that the government should cancel SNAP for folks who threaten to steal? Yes. If they threaten. But if steal. So the three options I'm going to have is, so my question is, do you agree with the quartering of that the government should cancel SNAP for folks who threaten to steal? And I'm just going to have yes. I'm going to have not if they threaten, but if steal, if they steal, but there's not enough room for that. I'm going to say no. It's freedom of, right. Let's take out. I'll take out the. Because even if someone ends up stealing, so like, what are they? If they are in the 30% group, like, what is it that they are supposed to do? Like, they don't have food for their kids. Does that mean it's like now next month they can't? I just don't understand that. Let me catch up on some of the chats here while you guys start voting, and I'll check out what you guys are saying in the ghetto in a moment. But I'm going to check your responses. So you agree with the quartering? Yes. Disagree? No. Or you say only if they steal. I think I covered this. How do we know if state funding? We covered that. Just hopped in. I've recently been told that EBT is reloaded on your birthday. Approximately the same number of people get the monthly reload every day. Maybe EBT. I'm not sure if EBT is exactly the same as SNAP, but from what I did research on this, and they said SNAP is reloaded on the first of the month. That's why everyone's expecting this craziness to happen. And supposedly there was a notice that went out to people, you're not going to be getting your SNAP benefits on the first of the month. So, I don't know. What's with the court case requiring payments? I'm not sure which court case you're referring to. I think criminal ass Trump isn't leaving. So stupid. Why would you think that? He left once. Why would you think that? When you think when he left in January 2021, that he thought that he's going to get reelected, that they're not going to steal the election from him again. He already left once. They could stack state offices, cry rigged early and often, stall certifications, block 270, force a House vote, Trump equals traitor. Think of how twisted out of shape your brain has to be to actually believe this. It's possible you're trolling me, but I think you actually do believe much of this stuff. And why would you even think he would be on the ballot? If even him getting on the ballot seems ridiculous. Everything about this seems ridiculous. So when JD Vance wins, he'll happily walk out. Stop worrying. No one even knows what next month is going to look like, and you're sitting here worrying about what's going to happen in 2029. But it's just, think of how silly this sounds. How stupid this sounds. I don't want him to stay there. on January 21st, 2029. One of the things you ignore is that folks who support MAGA, vast majority, big constitutionalists, very big into the Constitution. It's true. So, much more so than folks on the left. Much more so. That's why I say things like, hey, I question whether or not we should be throwing people in jail because of freedom of speech, or even cutting off their SNAP benefits because of freedom of speech. That's why. Because we're big constitutional fans, big fans of the Constitution. I meant to say SNAP, not EBT. I don't know. When you're saying in this one here, you meant to say SNAP. What I'm saying is, that's just what thank God I've never been on SNAP, so I don't know. And I wouldn't, if I thought anyone was on SNAP, I wouldn't ask them if they're on SNAP to ask them, because I would feel like that's a rude thing for me to ask. So yeah, I don't know. So I can't tell you. I'm sure I know many people who have been on SNAP, but I don't know who they are. So I'm just going by what my research is showing. SNAP is funded by Fed, but administered by state agencies. Look it up. Pretty sure California and New York are approving it for illegals if they administer it. Okay, so this is an interesting question. How would you want me to research this? Whenever I ask AI, people get mad at me. I think you're asking a legitimate question. People get very mad at me when I try asking AI questions like this. But I'll do it. Just for dookies and giggles. After I finish with these chats. I'm a longtime subscriber and Trump supporter. Mod banned my main account from chat. Well, I'm sorry that happened. I wasn't addressing you. I was addressing chat and explaining my circumstance living on welfare. And like I said, some people have to spend periods of their life on welfare. Some people, I was talking about people who were incompetent, which I don't assume for a second you are. Some people, I said, who seem, have an IQ of below 80, I imagine that they need to rely on government assistance for much of their lives. And you know it from the time that they're 10 years old, that they're going to. And others, I think, hit on hard times or things happen, they lose their job or whatever it is, there's shutdowns, and they end up on SNAP. Things happen. I understand that. And the objection folks have is to the career SNAP people who seem capable of working and disinclined to, because they'd rather get a free ride. That's the animus. It's not towards folks it's towards folks who they feel like are trying to take advantage of the perceived largesse of government and government funding. That's what gets people, the people who are committing fraud, the people who basically live their lives with an expectation, well, SNAP is always there for me. I can either get a job or SNAP is an option. That sort of perspective is what gets people outraged. I don't think any of them are targeting you particularly, or folks who are in your circumstance. Well, now I'm not sure. One of the two. It definitely is one of those two. Century Bro is coming hard at me, trying to get the call-in show. Nice. Look at respect. Brian Oldenkamp and Century Bro trying to push us past our goal. All C's are obviously experts on U.S. welfare fraud and U.S. media like Fox. Totally checks out. Yeah. Experts. They are. And thank you, Brian. Brian and Century Bro taking turns trying to get us past our goal. Did you get us past it? Goal! There you go. Call in show. Nicely done. You guys are awesome. All right. They may start eating the dogs. If we get another song, totally worth it. Totally worth the whole SNAP shutdown. Totally worth it. Totally worth it. Okay. Let me check here. I said I was going to check, so I'll check. I said I was going to check, so I'll check. Let's check. Let's check. We'll see. What was it that I said I was going to check? Someone here said something. It was Adam K. who asked this question. So, I'll try asking Grok. Let's try asking Grok. Can I get Grok to talk? Because talking is much better. How do I get audio out of you? Oh, you don't have that. Enable voice interactions via a third-party Chrome extension called VoiceWave, which adds text-to-speech and voice input for Grok chats right in your browser. This sounds like work. Maybe another day. Okay. We're going to go instead to ChatGPT. Sorry, y'all. Hey, ChatGPT, you there?
Absolutely, I'm here, ready to dive into any video research topic you have in mind. Let me know what you're interested.
No, let's stop. Just stop. Just let me don't talk unless I ask you to talk. I'm going to ask you a question about SNAP benefits specifically. From what I understand, SNAP, that's the federal food program, is funded by the Fed, but is it administered by state agencies?
Sure, understood. I'll keep quiet unless you ask. To answer your question, yes, that's correct. SNAP, which is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, is indeed funded at the federal level, but administered by state agencies. Each state runs its own SNAP program under federal guidelines. Let me know if you need more info.
Great. Next question I have. Who oversees to ensure that SNAP is only going towards potentially legal American citizens?
So the oversight for SNAP to make sure it's going to eligible individuals, including legal residents and citizens, is handled by the Food and Nutrition Service, which is a part of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. They set the overarching rules. On the ground level, though, it's really the state agencies that verify eligibility. They confirm things like residency status and income. So it's a combination of federal rules and state-level administration that keeps an eye on it.
So if there was a state which was disinclined to put much effort into weeding out folks who are ineligible, there's really no way that the federal government would likely know much about that. Is that correct?
In a practical sense, yes, that's pretty much correct. The federal government relies on the states to do the detailed eligibility checks. The Food and Nutrition Service does conduct audits and can review how states are administering the program. But if a state is not really putting a lot of effort into enforcement, it might take some time for the federal level to notice. So there's definitely some leeway, and it's not a real-time oversight system. Thanks for your patience, and if you want me to dive into anything else or get into documentary mode, just let me know.
Yeah, a couple more questions. Have there ever been reports about states which have shown a lack of diligence in vetting out and weeding out folks who are ineligible for SNAP?
Yes, actually, there have been instances where certain states have been called out for not being as rigorous as others in enforcing eligibility rules for SNAP. These reports usually come up in audits or reviews by the USDA, or sometimes by other oversight bodies. In those cases, it's been noted that some states might have looser enforcement or fewer checks, and that can lead to some ineligible people slipping through. Of course, when that happens and it's documented, it's considered a verified claim, We can definitely dig into specific examples if you want, and I can even source some public reports or video sources that have covered those stories.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that. Can you list off the most egregious examples? Give me the 3 most egregious examples. Tell me what state they are, how much ineligibility got through the system, or how much funding for ineligible persons got through, and a short synopsis for those 3 examples. Ooh, we're digging.
Absolutely. Let me break it down into 3 verified examples that have been noted publicly. First, New York State had a big issue between 2023 and early 2025, where about $80 million in SNAP benefits ended up going to ineligible or fraudulent recipients. That was one of the highest totals reported in the states. Second, Minnesota, the really egregious case with a nonprofit called Feeding Our Future. They basically ran a scheme during the pandemic that misused nearly $250 million meant for child nutrition programs. They filed false claims on a massive scale, and eventually the organization's leader was convicted of fraud. Third, Illinois had a notable overpayment issue in fiscal year 2024. They had an error rate that led to about $485 million in overpaid benefits going to people who shouldn't have gotten them, or at least not in those amounts. This was flagged because their error rate was a lot higher than the federal threshold, which means the state might have to pay back some of that money. All of these examples are verified incidents reported in public sources, and they show how states can sometimes slip up on enforcement. If you want, we can definitely shape this into a full documentary breakdown.
I just want to, before you go any further, are those examples of specifically the SNAP program, or those are fraud with other programs?
Great catch on that. Let me clarify the details to make sure we're staying strictly within the lines of SNAP. The Minnesota example I mentioned actually involved a different nutrition program, so let me refocus specifically on SNAP-related cases only.
But the other 2 were SNAP?
Yes, exactly. So the New York example and the Illinois example I mentioned do directly relate to SNAP. In New York's case, it was about $80 million in SNAP benefits that went to ineligible recipients over a couple of years. In Illinois, the $485 million in overpayments was also specifically tied to the SNAP program due to a high error rate in their eligibility checks.
Okay, before you go any further, were those ineligibles, was that related to just regular fraud or payments toward illegal aliens?
Absolutely. Let me clarify that. So in those 2 cases, New York and Illinois, the ineligibility issues were mostly tied to general errors and standard fraud, like income misreporting or people not actually qualifying under the income guidelines but still receiving benefits. They weren't specifically about benefits going to undocumented immigrants or anything like that. It was more about people who were just not meeting the legal requirements in terms of financial eligibility or other criteria. So to label it clearly, those cases are verified examples of general fraud or administrative errors, not specifically related to ineligible immigration status. Let me know if that helps.
All right. So I think we're done with that. I hope that answered a lot of your questions. All right. All right. I think that should have answered a lot of questions. Mita with a long E says EBT used to go by last name A to G on the 1st, H to Z on the 15th. It might be different now. It's been about 15 years since life was that hard. Well, I'm glad that things are better for you now. That's one of the things we hope for. Joe, you're forgetting that the states who administer the SNAP eligibility, and we have seen the receipts where illegals had SNAP in the thousands of dollars every month loaded on their cards. So this is one of the things I was clarifying, because someone else, I think it was Kimmy, brought up something similar, where there are a lot of different government programs. So that's why I was trying to sort of glean this out, because everyone's focusing today on SNAP. Does that mean that SNAP is the only one that matters? No, money is money. It really doesn't matter whether the money is coming from SNAP or from some other federal program, or if you happen to be from a particular state, if your state is wasting money on a particular program. So, or that state is wasting money and then getting reimbursed by the federal government, that's also obviously a federal problem. The point that I'm getting at is there's so many different programs. It's very hard if we just talk in general abstract terms to say, well, what about this case over here? When I'm trying to verify, is this something that relates to the federal government? You see what I'm saying? When it could be something that's unique to the state of Iowa or New York or California or Minnesota. Trump, there are methods which you could do it regarding seeking a third term. Trump cares about the Constitution, loves the Bible, and Mexico will pay for the wall. I don't know that Trump is a big constitutionalist. I don't think that he's nearly as much a constitutionalist as the rest of MAGA. And I don't know that he ever claims to love the Bible. See, this is all the things, as far as like loving the Bible, I am hard-pressed to think of anyone, perhaps the Bushes were genuinely religious. But in the last 50 years, I mean, certainly no Democratic president seems to have been very religious. They all are going to go to churches and, you know, pay homage to every religion. That's what they do. And they'll sort of, you know, profess some level of faith. You think that Biden was some big Christian? The guy standing up for abortion, and you think he was a Catholic? He was someone like, oh yeah, he was a really true Catholic? I mean, come on. So it's a pretty silly yardstick. And yeah, he didn't have Mexico pay for the wall. Why is that your fixation when Biden, didn't you hear the Democrats say during the last 6 months that the only reason that they couldn't close the border is because Republicans shot down that stupid, terrible bill? And that's why we have all these illegals streaming across our border. And we never got that bill. Trump worked with what he had and completely shut down the border, where we have a net negative going on now. So you tell me why it is that you accept the complete and obvious BS when they're like, oh, we just need more funding. We just need more funding. It's Democrats' answer to everything. We just need more funding, more funding, more funding, more funding, more funding. And Trump managed to do it. So is Trump some whiz? Is that what you think, Starch? He's like some genius that he was able to shut down the border without all the funding? The ridiculously poison pill bill that they wanted to pass through, which would have mandated that a minimum of 40,000 illegals can pass through our borders each month. That insane bill that they passed. And when it was kiboshed, they blamed Trump as if they knew Trump did it, which I don't know how anyone knows that he did anything to kibosh it. And he certainly should have been, because if he didn't kibosh it, he'd be forced to let in 40,000 people a month now. So, because a call for 1,400 illegals every day had to cross the border. It was insanity. That was supposedly closing the border, when in actuality, it was a guarantee for the rest of American history that we would have an open border. That's what that bill was. It was insanity. But supposedly, because the bill was killed by Trump, it's impossible to close the border, and yet he has. So I don't know why it is that you seem to think that his claims that Mexico paying for the wall is something that you have an own on him, considering everything we've seen go on over the last 5 years with respect to the border. The complete and utter ineptitude. No, not ineptitude. The willful destruction of our border by the Biden administration compared to the slamming shut of the border by the Trump administration. $80 million is a lot of ribeye steaks. It is. It is a lot of ribeye steaks. Should Republicans end the filibuster? Trump called for that on Truth. No. No. I disagree with him on that. I didn't see him say that. It's a great question. It's a great question. I don't think so. I don't think that would be a good idea. I'm at the 2-hour mark, and I'm supposed to be doing an hour of call-ins, but I have a third topic I need to cover very quickly, so I'm going to cover that. And you can call in on this as well. Before I get to that, I thought this was funny. Yesterday, I covered the story of that progressive who was running for office, who was basically acting illegally in trying to stand in the way of ICE, and now is saying that the arrest is a violation of free speech, which is an utter joke. But here she was in an interview today. Apparently, part of her protest is, I'm just judging based on her hair, is a refusal to shower until all the illegals are safely in our country.
The indictment alleges that you and others, quote, surrounded a federal officer's vehicle, banged on its hood and windows, etched pig on the side, and impeded movement. Did you etch the word pig on the side of an officer's car?
I'm not speaking to the specifics of anything that's in the indictment right now, but like I said, I do plan on pleading not guilty, and the evidence will come out in court, and I plan on winning.
Okay. Well, let's watch the video of what happened that day that they are.
See, what she's doing there is a crime. You're not allowed to block federal agents when they're in the process of engaging in their official function. That's a crime. That's a crime. So she plans on winning. I don't know how, but she plans on winning. It's possible.
But when you see that, what do you think right now?
Tara, once again, this is my first time being federally indicted, like I said.
It's her first time. Hey, congratulations. My first time being federally indicted.
Yeah. I plan on pleading not guilty. The evidence will come out in court, and I plan on winning. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Just really quickly, I did want to ask you about just the fact that, like, conspiracy to impede an officer is up to 6 years in prison, forcibly impeding and intimidating an officer is up to 8 years. Is that that could actually hinder your ability to serve in Congress? Are you
You think it might.
concerned about that?
Wait. Where? Wait.
Did she just sign off?
Oh, yeah, she did.
Did she just leave the chat?
Yes, she did.
I'm so confused. I'm sorry.
Yes, she did. She totally did. She's like, I don't know how I'm going to win. I totally plan on winning. I hope no one sees the evidence. Evidence doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. You can see her there, front and center in that thing. There she is. Right here. That's her. Right here. I see her. There it is. I can be a witness now. Not really. But don't want to mislead you on the law. That doesn't make me or you a witness because we've seen the video. Yeah, there you go. That's Kat right there. Oh, my God. Not looking good. She totally plans on winning. All right, go get him, Tiger. One person who you can ask questions whether this person should have won and did. I was on Snap during and after my graduate work in math. For a few years, the only job I get was as an adjunct, and that pays dirt. Yeah, no, I understand that. Like I said, Snap is beneficial, and a lot of people need it for periods of their life. So you haven't ever heard me say that we should abort Snap. That doesn't mean we shouldn't make sure that we're weeding out people who are ineligible, or that we should be encouraging people to be spending a lifetime on it, unless they're folks who have, a significantly low IQ and can't fend for themselves, which there are millions like that. Although I think they probably have other things, other programs. I'm just guessing. All right, here we go. This is the last story I'm going to cover before I go to my call-in show. Former Coast Guard lieutenant, self-identified Antifa member, found not guilty of soliciting assassination of Trump. Soliciting the assassination of Trump. All right. A Virginia man has been acquitted of one count of solicitation of a crime of violence in relation to posts made to Blue Sky that the DOJ said were threats to kill President Trump. Per Bloomberg Law, the jury deliberated for about 2 hours on Tuesday, finding Peter Stinson of Oakton, Virginia, not guilty. Stinson is a former Coast Guard lieutenant and a self-identified member of Antifa. The jury has acquitted former Coast Guard officer who was charged by the Justice Department in Virginia with making threats against Trump. It took them just an afternoon to reach the verdict. And there they are filling out the verdict form saying not guilty. Stinson's defense argued that the client's comments on social media were protected by the First Amendment and that he never took steps to carry out an actual assassination. The DOJ noted Stinson's history of posts to social media, including one in the wake of the Butler, Pennsylvania attempted assassination of Trump, in which he wrote, quote, 3 inches to the right, and the shot would have gone through the eyeball. Practice, practice, practice. The primary expert witness for the defense in the trial, psychologist Jen Goldbeck, argued the DOJ had targeted Stinson and not charged countless others who posed similar comments to social media. I don't know how that's relevant. You can charge them all. The witness, University of Maryland professor Jen Goldbeck, said in a later interview, quote, that's just incredible to me that anyone in good faith would say that the fact that he posted a bunch of times he wished the president were dead is a solicitation of murder. And there is a difference. Solicitation of murder is trying to get someone to be murdered. An affidavit accusing Stinson of calling for the assassination of Trump repeatedly since 2020, a February 2020 post included, quote, the orange man must go at any cost. So that, in response to a user asking, you see Trump drowning, what are you throwing him? Oh, you see Trump drowning, what are you throwing him? And he said, this morning I feel like I would hit him in the head with an oar, and he wants us dead. I can say the same thing about him. Okay. In response to another user's post later the same month, Stinson wrote, somebody ought to do more than sue the orange MFs. Probably A, yeah. And it involves a rifle and a scope, but I can't talk about it here. He added, I'd be willing to pitch in $100 for a contract. Who wants to join me? We could solve the solvable part of this problem in a crack. Then we can focus on the coronavirus itself. Okay. Oh, this was back in 2020. But that's a long time ago. I don't think he'd be charged for that now. In October 2020, Stinson wrote a series of messages in replies to other posts, quote, I'd pull the trigger, but I'm not a good enough shot. I'll drive. I'm willing to drive. And he needs to be punched into a different reality. Stinson made similar posts over the years, including January 2021 post that read, let's just shoot the orange and put him out of his misery. And a January 2025 post that read, quote, somebody needs to do it. Somebody with the skills to do it right. Somebody with the experience. Somebody with the right tools. Somebody needs to get it done. So my question to you is, do you think that this is solicitation? I'm going to pause now. I'm going to pull up the statute itself, which is 18 U.S.C. 871, threats against president and successors to the presidency. Whoever knowingly and willfully deposits for conveyance in any mail delivery, that's not depositing, a letter carrier, any letter, paper, writing, paper, print, missive, paper, writing, print, missive, or document containing any threats to take the life or to kidnap or inflict bodily harm upon the president, or knowingly, willfully, otherwise make any such threat against the president, should be fined in this time in prison not more than 5 years. So you can basically take out this whole part here and basically focus on knowingly and willfully otherwise make any such threat against the president. So now when we're looking at these comments that he made where he's wishing Trump to be dead, the closest he said he'd be willing to pitch in $100 for a contract. Okay. Stinson had proposed that Trump be Luigi'd, referencing the suspect arrested for the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, and that poison be used instead. After his arrest, Stinson was released in bail in June. Prosecutors had argued at the time that Stinson was dangerous to both Trump and the public. So I don't know. I mean, I can understand finding him not guilty. I can understand finding him not guilty in the sense that, do you think he's trying to get someone? I think he definitely wants him dead. I think that's definitely part of what he's looking for. But do you think that he's actually trying to get him to someone to take action, someone to take up arms? Because I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't know. I think that's my question for you. I can understand the acquittal. That's my point. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm he's a kid. Basically, he sounds like a little boy. You think it's pretty black and white? I'm going to put the link. I'm going to pin the link. It's a post-millennial article. I'm going to put the link in the chat. So if you want to review what his... but I think it's time for me to open the phones. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to open the phones because this is part of bonus time now. So I'm going to open the phones up now. The number to call if you want to talk to me. And you can talk to me about the current poll I have up now, which is, do you agree with Corin that the government should cancel SNAP for folks who threaten to steal? 38% saying yes, 41% saying only if they steal, 21% saying no. That's a much higher percentage of people say yes than I anticipated. A much larger percentage agreeing with the quartering than I anticipated. I promised I was going to check over in locals and in the ghetto, and I don't remember looking there. So I'm going to take a quick look. I'm not sure if I can be able to find it. Threatening to steal is a crime? Is it? Why? Why is that a crime? All right. Well, let me open up my phone lines here. The number to call is 972-454-0703. That's 972-454-. I think I got that right? So that is where you'll find. That's where you'll find me. Just showed up. Sorry, I'm late. The guy. I should probably turn my do not disturb because that. But my question is, yeah, I'm glad you're here. Also, thank you, Barb Rogers, gifting 1 Good Lawgic membership. You know what? You inspired me. You inspired me.
Call from Kimmy Hunt.
Kimmy Hunt.
To accept.
Kimmy Hunt. Welcome, Kimmy Hunt.
Hi, Joe. Hi, everybody.
How are you?
I'm okay.
I'm glad. I'm glad to hear it. You're like physically good?
I'm physically almost back to normal.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, doing pretty good that way. I have my PET scan on the 10th coming up, and then I'll know 100% more on the 13th when I see the doctor.
Excellent.
So I'll let you know what comes. I wanted to address something that was happening in the YouTube chat.
Oh, okay.
I want to assure everybody that I am not using my Give, Send, Go money to do super chats.
Oh, okay. Well, you got some flack?
Yes, and I have been doing super chats with you far before this ever happened to me.
For like 4 years.
Yeah. And if people will notice, I usually only do $1.99 or $4.99.
Always.
Super chat.
Always.
And that is because I allot a little bit of my
This is part of
budget.
your entertainment budget.
Number 1 is part of my entertainment. Number 2, I do not eat out. Number 3, I don't do Starbucks or anything fancy like that. And I feel like it's actually giving back to the community that I appreciate. I also will do some super chats or rants or a local tip, sometimes to Viva and Barnes. So this has nothing to do with my Give, Send, Go money. I have that completely separate in a different savings account, and I have been paying my bills as they've been coming in. And I want to thank everybody for all of their donations. I am not scamming anybody.
I'm sure that no one... Look, I brought up the pictures of you. Everyone here understands that you were that you dealt with one of life's greatest challenges and kicked cancer's ass. So yeah, I understand why you might be self-conscious about that, but I wouldn't.
Well, when somebody said Kimmy is a scam, I'm going to let Viva know that she's spending her money over here on Joe's channel. Things like that were coming out in a comment, and I tried to address it in the chat, but I just wanted to address it here for everybody, just in case, because they fly by, those comments fly by. And I want to let everybody know, I so much appreciate it. Yes, it is going to help pay all the medical bills, and they were quite substantial. And I just want to thank everybody, and no, I am not spending Give, Send, Go money on Super Chats or anything else that way.
Besides, I reimburse her also. So
you don't. All right, you take care.
Wait, what are your thoughts? I need your thoughts. I got two different stories. The first story is do you agree with the quartering that we should cut off SNAP benefits from anyone who threatens to steal or steals? That was the first question.
It depends on what they say in their TikTok videos.
So give me a nature of something that would warrant cancellation.
Well, like if they are actually organizing a group to get together to go do it, that kind of thing. I understand that there is some group organizing to do major things on the, November 3rd, I think.
Yeah.
They're all planning on busting into Walmarts all over the country.
I've heard that.
So whoever is organizing all this stuff needs to get their benefits cut, that kind of thing. If they're just saying, I don't know what to do, and I don't know, and I'm going to go, and I'm just going to have to steal, I don't think they should.
Okay.
Only if they do actually steal. But what disturbed me is I've seen Tim Pool has talked about a lot of these TikTok videos are saying they're not going to go into the store and steal.
They're going to rob people.
They're going to rob people in the parking lots. And so I was supposed to go to the grocery tomorrow. I'm not going to the grocery tomorrow. It's too close to when they could be doing that. And I couldn't fight them off, if something like that happened. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to avoid the whole situation for a while. I've got my emergency food stock, and that's fine. I'll just wait out the storm. And I told my mom she can't run up to the grocery to get, her gallon of milk or whatnot.
Right.
She needs to stay away right now, because you just don't know what people might try in their desperation.
That's true.
And
so what about what about the notion? What about that guy's statements? Do you think that was a criminal offense, that he was soliciting people to try and harm the president?
The one with $100 was definitely.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah, that was a definite for me. If I was on the jury, I would have said no. The others are like iffy, and they're like wishes and kind of like vague, more vague, even though they're kind of not vague. But the one about the $100, that was a concrete. There was the word contract in there, and there was the word $100.
Do you think that anyone would have been like, okay, I did the deed, now give me my $100?
No, but there could have been a lot of people that might have gone into DMs and said, okay, let's crowdfund this.
That would be a crime.
It could have caused
that would be a crime.
But it could have started a conspiracy, and so I consider that to be incitement to commit a crime.
All right. Okay.
But that's
I can
just
understand
me.
that.
I'm not a lawyer.
No, I can.
I'm not a lawyer.
It's really a question of fact, as far as is that really inciting in time, place? That's in proximal time and place. Is that inciting for that? So that's a question of fact. You don't have to be a lawyer. Nice,
Okay.
Kimmy. You're awesome.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And we got, I want to give proper attention. Not only did Century Bro become a member of the following, but he gifted 20 new members of the following. You are now 20 new followers who have been brought in courtesy of Century Bro. Thank you, my good man. I appreciate you so much for that. That's awesome. Hold on 1 second.
Call from
Greg.
Greg, I need you to hold on for 1 minute, okay?
Good.
All right, following 20 people have become new followers courtesy of Century Bro. When you hear your name called out, I would appreciate if you express your gratitude. That is a sign of enlightenment. It's a sign of growth. It's a sign that you're someone who actually really belongs in the following. And that would include Barb Rogers, who actually just gifted someone like 5 minutes earlier herself. And she received a gift. That's karma! It's karma! Sue C, Lynn Green, Twisted Jack, ODF, Howie Brown, Mary N, K, Stanford, James Kirk, My Sixth Sense, Christy, Lou, Conservative Supreme, Mr. Coldburn, Snuggle Struggle, which has always been one of my favorite names of anyone who's come into my chat. I don't know why. I always thought that name was freaking hilarious. Gracie Diaz, Debbie Meze, and Decimator, as well as Evan Huff and Muffin Rando. Okay. Welcome to the following. Please be aware, when you hear you're brought into the following, some of those names like Snuggle Struggle, Barb Rogers, I certainly recognize. You probably may have heard me say this once or twice before. But those of you who are new, please be aware that the following is not at all the cult-sounding type of thing that it sounds like. It's not at all a cult type of cult. And I am not the leader of the following. I am just a host. The following is just a group of like-minded individuals who have an aspiration towards greater personal growth through community, unity, learning, and thinking. But there's no spaceships, there's no Kool-Aid, there's no tracksuits, not mandatory, mild farm work, no goat sacrifices, no squirrel mutilations. No dancing around bonfires to the beat of a tom-tom while shucking off your clothing. It's not at all a cult type of cult. Welcome aboard. God bless you. Thank you again, Century Bro. Greg, how are you doing?
So I should not have sacrificed those squirrels in my yard, I guess.
Not for the following. If you have your own purposes, I can't tell you. Look, every once in a while, some squirrels has gots to go, but yeah, that's not part of our deal here.
Yeah. So anyway, the reason I called is I worked in the system a long time, so I wanted to elucidate the audience on some of the stuff that I experienced. Number one, refugees usually have waivers of the 5-year rule, and they can usually get almost everything: cash, food stamps, Medicaid, all that stuff. Because I had to deal with a Somali house in the county in which I worked, and we had to give those people everything. And this guy from Somalia filled this whole apartment complex with Somalis in a rural part of the state. And this goes on a lot, so refugees can get it. Second thing is, but when Biden classified people as refugees or parolees, that exempts a lot of the time limits, and these people can get on assistance right away. So maybe that's why there's some confusion with that whole Newsmax thing where he was saying illegals were getting. Yeah, they walked across the border and they were illegal, but when Biden classified them as parolees, a lot of the states waive all of the limits for parolees. And parolees, I only saw it once in my 30 years of working for the state welfare system. It's extremely unusual on a case-by-case basis, but I think he granted it to millions of people. There you have one of the things where they're giving it to people who are not supposed to get it.
That might have cracked the code. That might have cracked the code. That people we call illegal aliens are not technically illegal aliens, and hence that they managed to find a way around that. If they're asylees, that maybe they got it that way, or
correct.
Parolees.
Because I know in the state rules that I read, parolees are a special exemption because of a certain classification. It's not asylum, but it's because of a certain situation in your country. Not walking across the border as an illegal and then being granted parole. Parole is a special application you have to do before you come into the country.
I didn't even know there was such a concept as parolees from illegal. I thought parolees were people who had been convicted of crimes. I didn't know there was a concept of being a parolee from being an illegal alien.
No, it's not from being an illegal alien. It's from coming from a country where a certain circumstance allows you to be a parolee. Nothing to do with illegal alien. But what Biden did is those illegal aliens, he granted them all parolee status.
Right. But what I'm saying is, so what is a normal parolee status?
A normal parolee is a person that is in a country where they are facing a circumstance where they have come into this country as a guest and they've applied for parolee status because they have fear of going back or there's a circumstance where they can't go back, and they're granted parolee status.
Uh-huh. And that's not asylee status, that's parolee status.
It's not asylee status, it's parolee status.
And what was
but Biden took? Yeah.
How do you have your familiarity with this?
I worked for the system for years.
Okay.
I worked actually in the welfare system.
Oh, okay. So you're like a veritable wealth of information here. So,
kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is, and I'm seeing here as I'm pulling up when I just Googled parolee status, and what they say here is parolee status refers to an individual granted temporary entry into a country for humanitarian or public benefit reasons, and immigration parolee.
Right. Yeah, and now in the state I worked in, parolees got automatic eligibility for assistance,
including SNAP.
Yeah, it specifically SNAP benefits. Now keep in mind also, a lot of these states, including New Jersey, not Pennsylvania, but New York, cash assistance. You can also get cash assistance. Now, again, it's based on the particular state and the rules. Usually there's a 5-year waiting period to get assistance. Parolees don't wait. And also, because people were asking this in the chat, there's the federal food stamp program, but each state can enhance it to give it to more people. They can't charge it to the federal government, but it comes out of state taxpayer money.
Right.
I'll give you an example. I'll give you one example real quick.
Which state did you work out of?
New Jersey.
Oh, my state.
Not too far from where you live.
No, I'm in Jersey.
Yeah, I know you're up in wherever you are. Yeah, but let's say that.
So you were down in Trenton?
Actually, I'm in Flemington.
Okay. No, I'm just. But that's where you worked, or you had an office down in Trenton, or you were down. You were working more from your area of Jersey.
Yeah, I was in my area.
Okay.
I was in my area. So I'll give you one example where the state can enhance it. Let's say they don't agree with the work requirements, and this happens. The state waives the work requirements, and they give it to all the people who don't want to go to work. They can do that, but the state has to pay for those people, and it's called the state food stamp program. And it's all part of the same program, but when you do the computer coding and all, those charges go to the state, and the federal government does not get charged for those charges of people who really shouldn't get it because of the federal rules, but the state says we want to give it to them anyway. And people don't know that, but this is one of the problems in New Jersey. I think Trump cut a lot of that stuff off, but I think Biden put it all back in the more liberal way to give it to people. And another thing, I don't want to take up too much.
No. You can. I want you to stay with me. I don't want you to go anywhere.
Okay. Now,
I feel
it's okay.
No, I really. So I'm asking. I don't know if Google is my friend or my enemy in this, but I have to just work with whatever information I can try to find. So I asked a question to Google: did Biden give parolee status to undocumented immigrants? And AI is claiming the Biden administration has not given parole status to all undocumented immigrants, but it did create a new parole in place program for specific groups, primarily the undocumented spouses and stepchildren of U.S. citizens. However, the program is currently on hold due to legal challenges. And announced in June 2024, this policy, the Keeping Families Together program, parole in place, announced in June 2024, this policy extends the existing parole in place authority to hundreds of thousands of long-term undocumented immigrants who meet specific criteria. So that means they have to continuously reside here since June of 2014 and been legally married since June of 2024, and no disqualifying criminal convictions, and enter U.S. without formal admission or parole. So, and they list other parole programs under DACA and CHNV program.
Yeah.
So, for various groups, CHNV stands for 4 different countries: Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela, to be paroled into U.S. temporarily through this program, which was terminated in mid-2025 following a Supreme Court decision. So, I see what you're saying as far as blanket paroles going out to large swaths of people. That explains why it is that what the left is telling their audience, no, it's not eligible for illegal aliens to get, for the undocumented to get it. And you're saying that's true unless they get granted parole status, and that he was authorizing parole status to large swaths of them. Not all, I don't think it was all of them, but large swaths of them. And potentially several million of them have been granted parole status. And that would help explain this. I know whenever I see numbers that are so grossly disproportionate, there has to be some issue about usually the phrasing of something as to why it is that both of them are technically correct, even though they seem like they're in complete conflict with each other. And usually it's a framing game by the left, as far as, that they're sort of try to like pin on how they're technically not doing what the right is complaining about, and saying, you see, it's against the law, it can't possibly be happening. And then they're basically misguided by their leaders into thinking that none of them are getting it, and not realizing the great exclusions and carve outs to that general rule that their heads of state have helped create. So
yeah, exactly. And one of the other things you were talking about was, the families. Now, here's the thing. You have 2 illegal aliens, Jose and Maria. They have 5 kids. They're technically all legal citizens. Jose and Maria will get like $600-700 in food stamps for the 5 kids. Now, technically, the illegal aliens aren't getting it, but all the kids are getting it. And, Jose's going to work under the table. You can't make him look for work because he's an illegal alien. You can't make Maria look for work because she's got children under 5. So basically, they're just scamming the system for $500, $600, $700 a month. And yes, technically, the illegal alien is not getting it, but they are getting it for their children.
Right.
And that goes on all over the place. Now, I worked in rural New Jersey, which really isn't rural compared to the rest. Can you imagine what I see going on in Passaic and Hudson and Westchester and Akron, Ohio, and all over the country, the major populated areas?
Yeah.
I see it as a small microcosm, but it's huge all over the country.
Let me ask you this. Can you give me a breakdown as far as numbers, like what they get, what SNAP beneficiaries actually get per month, like per person? Like
I've been out of it for a few years, but
how long ago were you in it? Just so I have an idea.
5 years ago. I got out of it 5 years ago.
Okay, fine.
But,
so when you left, so was it? I assume it's per person who's SNAP eligible, right?
Yes.
And what is it, like 120 per month or something?
About that, if you had no income. If you're one person, it would be about 120, 130 a month with no income. But when for every $3 you make, they take away basically $1 of food stamps. But then that gets more complicated as you have more children and more children. So it's basically a 3-to-1 ratio.
So you're saying if someone makes $360, they don't get anything?
They would get, well, it depends on their rent. It depends on their other expenses. But if you made $500 a month and you paid no rent, you'd probably get maybe $50 a month.
I got you.
If you, ratio, and there's a formula, and it's based on your income and your expenses, how many people are in the household. It's very generous for people that have low income. And, watching these people on TV, do they not work at all? Aren't they made to work? Like, it cracks me up. And your answer your question about could you take it away from these people? How are you going to do that? I don't think the law would allow it. And probably these women have 5, 6, 7 children. Can't let them go without food.
Yeah.
Even though,
and
how are you going?
Yeah, frankly, so I am curious about your thoughts about that. Would you want, assuming there was a way to legally do it, would you want to take it away from them? If they,
oh boy, I would take it away from her. I think legally you might be able to take it away from her, but I don't think you could take it away from the portion that goes to the children.
Right.
So you
Right.
could probably do that.
So
but,
you're saying there
you
should be a cut for whatever benefits she would get individually. So that part they would basically discount as if she wasn't on SNAP, but have for her children.
Yes, I think you could get away with doing that because when people committed fraud, you could remove the adult, but you couldn't do any harm to the children,
Right.
unless the fraud was so great that they were banned completely from the system.
Right. Interesting. That's really interesting.
If people, Joe, if people really knew what goes on, they really would be outraged because when you see it from the inside, you shake your head and go, there is so many billions of dollars. And that's not even getting into the Medicaid for the illegals. That's a whole nother subject for another day.
Mm-hmm.
The cost that of that throughout the state is like insane.
Wow. All right. Well, that was Greg. That was really great. You had any other thoughts that you wanted to give me? I don't really see any other questions that I'm not thinking.
No, it's fun, Joe. I watch you every night. It's so much fun to watch you. You're cool, and
Thank you.
It's really great. And if you can tell me how to get rid of my squirrels in the yard, I duly appreciate it. They got in my car engine, Joe.
Did they really?
Yeah. They made a nest in my car. I lifted up the hood. I was like, oh no, what am I going to do now?
I had, when I was like 20, I was living in my parents' house, and we had in our roof there, we lived in a ranch house then. My parents ended up changing and building up the house after I got married. But so we lived in a ranch house, and there was a period there during one summer where I heard scratching on my ceiling, and I started freaking out because I was just like, they're in our roof now. And I ended up boarding it up. Like I went up, this was like this is the most construction I've ever been. I climbed up on the roof and I got some boards and I basically nailed the hole shut. And that night I still heard scratching. And then I never heard scratching again. So.
This is why they all must be sacrificed.
Yeah, so there you go.
Hey, thanks, Joe.
Anyway, thank you so much, Greg. I really appreciate the call.
Bye-bye. Joe.
Have a great night, brother.
Bye-bye.
That was a great call. All right, 972-454-0703 is the number to call if you're interested in talking to me about SNAP or about that acquittal of someone who arguably threatened the president.
Call from Rockham Needle Art.
You.
Hi, Joe.
Who's calling?
Call from Rockham Needle Art.
You.
That's an echo.
Hi, Joe. Who's calling? Wait, let me shut up.
You really need. We're gonna hear that for a while now.
Oh no, it's off.
All right, good.
How you doing? How's the family and the grandkids?
Thank God. Thank God. How are you doing? Can you give people a name so they know who I'm talking to?
Ronnie in Detroit.
Ronnie from Detroit. There you go. How you doing? This is our resident Detroit Lion fan. Are you
You
pleased?
say that all the time.
I
It's
do,
like-
because every time the Lions won last year, not this year so much, but last year, you were on cloud nine. Like I think you loved the 2024 Lion team. I don't know if you have the same level of
you
love.
gotta understand, my son and daughter-in-law and grandkids are big fans. I didn't even watch the game last time because I needed a new antenna to watch live TV on my fancy television.
Mm-hmm.
Regarding SNAP people, I think anybody that made that video should be the subject of an investigation for fraud. Those videos should be the subject of investigation for fraud.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
if they're willing to make a
If they
video
want to
like
turn
that,
they want to turn a spotlight on themselves, well, let's give them the spotlight.
if they're advocating stealing, maybe they are thieves. Okay.
I like it.
Okay, maybe.
I like that. That I'm totally on board with. You want to?
Okay.
If you want to
Yeah.
raise your hand and say, "Look at me," I'm going to look at you. Yeah.
Exactly. Regarding threats to the president, you're the lawyer. There's Brandenburg v. Ohio. It has to be an actionable threat. But something, after what they did to the January 6th people and what's coming out now with the FBI spying on pretty much every Republican and conservative, let the process be the punishment.
Right. Well, he got exonerated from his perspective. He was acquitted. So,
But I'm just saying, these guys. I mean, if they're let's face it. If they're indicted in Washington or Virginia or New York or California, they're going to get off anyways. They're not going to be able to find a jury that'll convict them. So let them pay a few $100,000 and have their lives ruined.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying on that. I'm just saying I'm very, very cautious when it comes to freedom of speech, and I know that I know our free speech rights. And it's ironic considering how much the Biden administration trampled our free speech rights. But that doesn't mean that I'm cool with.
But I have a gig writing about cars. I've been doing it for almost 20 years, and I lost a really great job.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most prestigious publications in the world in that field. They gave me a primo spot, never had to pitch a story. They loved everything that I wrote. And in another website, in a discussion of bad words about certain groups of people, meaning slurs,
mm-hmm.
I mentioned the name of a Lenny Bruce routine that's got a real bad word in the title, and I put it in quotation marks, thinking I was talking to adults. And I was canceled long before anybody developed the term canceled. So frankly, I don't have a lot of sympathies for people who say heinous things online.
Because you're saying that they're willfully saying heinous things, and you were like not even trying to do anything, and you got canceled.
I was having a discussion. It's like, I tell people, if can I say a bad word about Jews?
Do you trying to get me down
Well,
degraded?
Let's just say I'm talking about the K word. Okay.
I know what I knew. No one cares about Jaime. No one cares.
Hey, look, I
don't care. By the way, I personally, I don't care about that word at all. I had a whole bit when I was on Nick Rekieta that when I was talking about the Redskins, that I was like, I wish there was a team that was called the
Hebes.
No, I said the Kites. I was like,
you just said it. I'm not going to say it.
I said go fly a kite. That's what I said.
Okay.
I was like, if there was something like that, they could be from Indianapolis. I'd be wearing Indianapolis Kite jerseys. I'd have it all over. Our fight song would be kite, kite, kite.
Well, my attitude is as long as it's not preceded by a comma and followed by a period, meaning you just called me that word. We're adults. We're talking about bad words, right? You know, I think that people that, and I think what put me off is in that comment thread, there were two comments that bothered me. One of them spelled a bad word for black people, and they use exclamation points and sixes.
I don't know what you're trying to say.
Meaning, instead of asterisk, they put
I know what you're trying to say. Just assume I know what you're saying, okay?
Okay. And I thought, boy, you're really trying to be naughty dancing right up next to the word without actually saying it.
I don't know if that word. No one cares about the kites. Go on.
And then somebody else said a guy was complaining about people using the D and the F word, but he got to spell them out because he's a G. And and it's like, Yeah, so I'd like to have compassion for people. You don't want anybody to lose their job, but frankly, if you're a teacher and you're advocating political murder, no, you should lose your job. You know, I don't have a problem with that.
And he is a professor. So yeah, I agree with you.
You know-
And that was my position on that also in general. Someone who's saying vile, heinous things being canceled, if they are in a position where their service that they're providing is something that is dependent on their unique capabilities, that is a reason to say that they should be canceled. In contrast from someone who has a position where they are, let's say, working a register where no two people are different. No one cares about who the person is behind the thing. In that case, the person does, that they shouldn't be canceled.
My mouth has been getting me into trouble since before I was in kindergarten. What are they talking about?
There you go.
It's and
anyway.
So
brother, I gotta get some more calls. So let's land
you
it
should
here.
be well, and your family should be well.
God bless
Have
you,
a
my
good year.
friend. Have a great night, Ronnie. Thank you. The number is 972-454-0703, 972-454-0703. That's what's wrong with Americans. They've grown soft. Brian Oldenkamp telling Kimmy, I gave you $100 extras on Give, Send, Go just for you to use on Super Chats if you wish. Forget the negative people. You're so awesome, Brian. Thank you. Social workers here in California tell the undocumented, find a citizen and say you are married. It gets the whole family health care and SNAP. Wow. Wow. Send your links via DM, gave parole status at 2.8 million. So I saw you sent me something which is 24 pages. When I saw the super chat, I went and looked, and I saw you sent me something which was 24 pages, and I was like, there's no way I can go through this entire report. It's just, that's not going to happen because I'm in the middle of a show and I can't operate that way. But I saw you sent me a whole bunch of stuff tonight. There's a 5-minute thing here. This just seems long. I promised I was going to get into. I'm going to open the phone lines up. All right, I'm going to open back. And you're sorry, I was just signing off on corruption. Who's signing off on corruption? There's some people out there who really need it. I don't. Like I said, I think 30% are legit. And I totally just made that number up. I think it's mostly people who should not be getting it. But I do think that there are some people who really need it. Joe, do you really think SNAP has ever audited under Biden or has been aggressively audited in the past 6 months? Highly unlikely. We know California is ripping off the Fed for all legals there. I think that's a good chance. I think it's a good chance.
Call from
Brian.
Brian.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, how you doing, Brian?
I'm doing pretty good. First things first, the guy with the squirrel problem.
Are you Brian Oldenkamp or a different Brian?
Different Brian.
All right, cool. Go on.
The guy with the squirrel problem, I got 2 words for him.
Mm-hmm.
Appalachian stew. It's great.
What is Appalachian stew?
It's like Brunswick stew, only with squirrel, rabbit, possum, raccoon.
Oh my gosh, you guys are so disgusting. You're so gross. Listen, when it comes to values, okay, I'm going to tell you this. When it comes to values, nobody can beat the Midwest except for the Deep South, and perhaps they're like neck and neck with each other. But the crap you guys eat, oh my God! I have to say this, okay? When I'm watching Duck Dynasty, okay, and like basically these folks live on frogs and squirrels and all sorts of rodents and crap, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is so incredibly disgusting. Like how? Oh no,
Hey,
no.
I lived in Florida for a while,
And I've actually had gator nuggets. They're great.
Oh my God. And I hope gator nuggets are not the part of the gator that I suspect that they are.
It comes from the tail.
Oh, okay. That's better than it being the nuggets.
Yeah.
No, of course squirrel isn't kosher. We don't eat no rodent. I'm just saying. I never had any desire to eat rodent. Crying out loud. You guys, some of you guys out there in the Midwest and the South with your possums and your oh my God, like anything that's crawling, you're just like, it's disgusting. How do you not see it? I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not passing judgment. I'm just sitting here revolted saying, gosh. Frogs.
Well,
I'm sorry. I know a lot of people, you guys eat frogs' legs. There's so many things that you guys eat that I'm just like, no, I have absolutely no desire to. I know I've heard from many people how tasty lobster is. Many, many people. I'm telling you now, zero inclination to ever eat any of that crap. And to me, it's just like, oh my God, no. Oh, gosh, no.
And to tie it into the subject, when I was younger, we were really, really poor. And Appalachian stew was a Sunday dinner for us. We would go out and hunt the squirrels, the rabbits, the possums, and Mom would cook up the stew for us. My dad was way too proud to take food stamps.
I can appreciate the nobility of that. Gosh,
It'll be okay, city boy.
It's so wrong. It'll be okay, city boy. It's like, city. I got plenty of squirrels here. Trust me. I never ever thought to myself, not one time, wow, man, the rump of that squirrel just looks so juicy. Oh my God. Oh, you eat skunk also?
No, never had skunk. Actually, I've never had skunk or armadillo.
Oh God. Oh my God. This is so gross to me. This is so disgusting.
But as far as food stamps go,
yeah,
we need to go back to 1939 and just do away with them.
And I'll tell you, that was actually my position 10 years ago, probably. I was like, we just cut all of them, cut all these social programs, cut them all. That was like my position. I was just like, you know what, to hell with it. And then as I've gotten older, perhaps, I don't know, I'm just sort of like I think it was that video watching Jordan Peterson that made me think to myself, like, what are you supposed to do with these people who are just incapable? Like, statistically, they're just incapable of providing for themselves. So you're going to tell them, sorry, God, your life sucks for you.
No, it's not like that. Go back to 1939, what they did back then.
Oh, it's sterilized?
No, well, yeah, they did that too. But no, if you needed a meal, you went to a church or, whatever religion and bring people back to God.
And that I can understand, and I agree with you. If in fact we didn't have government providing for us, there would be a lot more donations that would be coming in for actual charitable works, and there would be much greater dedication towards that type of thing. I agree with you 100% on that.
Because I agree with charity. I don't agree with theft. Taxes, theft, giving to a church or a synagogue, it's charity.
100%. And I agree with you on that. And that's why I'm like, I'm okay with SNAP benefits, assuming that they're properly monitored, just because I'm just like, I don't know. When it comes to food, some people I just feel like, I don't know. Like you're right in what you're saying. Here's the other point as to why it is I've softened my position on this a little bit from where I was 10 years ago. You're right in what you say, that there was a lot more money and a lot more efforts from religious institutions to care for the needy when there wasn't government programs, which was the thievery of taxation. That's true. And there always has been for at least a couple of millennia now. However, there was also a lot of people dying of starvation over the last couple of millennia. Like, I think that there would be a lot more charitable works and donations, but do you really think that there wouldn't be some people who would be starving to death as a result of that they just wouldn't get to everyone? Like, that's my question, that there would be enough monies that would come in that would really cover everyone, when historically that hasn't worked out for, significant, noticeable percentages of the population.
Yeah, well, it would force the people who can work to go back to work.
That's true. But I'll ask you this, 500 years ago, okay? 500, or don't even go back that far, okay? We'll go back before, social institutions. You said you want to go back to the 1930s, okay? So 150 years ago, someone who couldn't fend for themselves, right? So you think they weren't trying to go to work when they didn't have any government? There still were some people starving to death, right?
The whole food stamp concept came about through the Great Depression.
Right.
And yet there were a lot of people starving to death then.
Yeah. So I'm asking you, so should the government help those people out or not?
I don't think it should be the government. I think it should be the community.
Okay. And even if the community fails, that's part of God's great plan?
I mean, I did learn to cook a meal for 8 people on $10.
And I guess this comes back to your whole squirrel stew thing.
Yeah.
No, I like, all kidding aside. Like, if a person literally has nothing else to eat and they're about to starve to death, you'll eat the squirrel.
Yep, you will.
Yeah. I know that I appreciate you bringing that to mind, and I think that I like I said, I'm not that far away from that, because that's where I was 10 years ago. I've softened a little bit on social programs to a very, very minor extent, really, with respect to food.
Let's be honest, we do need more God in our lives.
1,000%. One of the reasons I do this show, one of the reasons I talk about Torah, even though I know most of my audience, very few of my audience, know or care much, or perhaps even care at all about Torah, is because I feel as if there's a lot of overlap between the religions and the different things I'm expressing, which I feel are inspired by God and carrying message of God. I feel like I'm hopeful that will resonate with at least a handful of people who watch, and perhaps inspire them towards seeking out more answers to issues that they're individually working with from God. And if that they're Jewish, that they should do it through Judaism. If they're Christian, they should do it through Christianity. If they're Muslim, they should do it with a healthy Muslim cleric. So someone who's not going to preach violence, but preach an actual healthy approach to Islam. So that's why, or that's essentially why I do. That's why I go down the whole religious tack as often as I do. Also because it sculpts, Judaism sculpts a lot of my morality. It sculpts I shouldn't say a lot. It sculpts my morality. So, So that's why, and a lot of law and politics is really a way of trying to find ways of defining morality in society. In other words, as far as how much we take care of, in this example, how much we take care of each other, how much should be forced out of people versus donations, versus community, taking care of that it's perhaps not via donations. Things of that nature are things that I try and draw from Torah, and I sort of, that's what's framing my morality. And if I ever shift, it's really because I have like a new perspective about what Torah says about it. But I also look at it as if that it's not, well, because Torah says this, I try to understand, because I look at Torah as being ultimate truth. So I'm like, why would God do it that way? especially if it's something I struggle to understand. So this was a great call, Brian. Thank you. So bottom line, do you think that what that guy did should have been acquitted or convicted?
In criminal court, I think he should have been acquitted.
I had a feeling you were going to say
However-
that.
However,
Okay.
he was it Coast Guard
Yeah. You're saying fire him.
under the UCMJ, and I don't know if that covers the Coast Guard anymore because
Right.
they got separated under Homeland Security now. It is a crime. I don't know his rank or his status, if he was retired or.
Right. I think he was
But-
retired.
Yeah,
Post-millennial-
Article 88, boom, 5 years in military prison.
Yeah, it says former Coast Guard lieutenant. So
yeah.
All right, brother. Thank you so much for the call.
Yep.
You're awesome. Take care. Have a great night. Squirrel is not kosher. They're basically bribe portions of the electorate. That's true. That's why they do it. Hooked on benefits, they're made to have a miserable life. They don't work and are depressed. True, too. In 2024, almost $600 billion was given to charity in the USA. So yes, charity can handle it, but with government handling food and housing, those charities are doing different business with it. Maybe. I guess. I don't know what the cost is for that. When you say $600 billion given to charity in the USA, first of all,
Call from
Heisenberg.
to accept, press 1.
Heisenberg, hold on 1 minute. So to Allegan, what I'd say to you is $600 billion given to China in the U.S. Some of it is towards specific causes that people have particular yen for, animal causes, cancer research, things that are not necessarily relevant to the indigent. So in that sense, and I'm sure a considerable percentage of it is given towards that because someone is like, oh, they just got over cancer. They want to give money towards cancer research. Oh, someone wants to give money to orphans specifically, because they, made it big after they themselves were an orphan. So a lot of people will have, so just because there's $600 billion out there in charity in 2024, that doesn't mean that that there would be enough specifically for food. Now, I do think that food tends to be something that people are much more readily giving to. I think that you can make a claim that if in fact we did not have SNAP, there would be a noticeable contribution towards food and basic necessities, because I think people do have a natural yen towards helping out. They feel good about themselves when they feel as if they're helping their fellow man in a way that seems very direct, more so than getting, helping out parrots and creating a parrot sanctuary. But I think that's a much more popular thing to be helping your fellow man. So how it would work in such a scenario is really speculative at best. So if someone's saying there wouldn't be enough money, you can say there would be enough money, but if you're wrong, people are dying. And if you're right, then great. But if you're wrong, people are dying. So it's a bit of a scary, it's a bit of a scary line to walk out on. So I told you that, yeah, we'll try it. And if you're wrong, in that case, if I just say, 400 people will die, or 4,000, or 10,000, or 100,000. So in that case, it's A, speculative, and B, doesn't have meaning. But if I start giving you lists of names of here are all the people who will be dead in the next year because we canceled SNAP, all of a sudden it has far more dramatic meaning. So it's a tough call, but I can understand a perspective. I don't think it's an unreasonable perspective to say, yeah, there would be enough money to go around that people wouldn't be starving to death. So I don't think you're out of line for coming to that conclusion, but I could also understand people being concerned that it wouldn't be there. Anthony says, how dare you have a call in when I've been drinking a bit? I have a lot to say, but I'm not sure how I get my point across at this point. Well, I don't know what to tell you, Anthony. They bought it out of me. They were like, "No, you're definitely sticking around for a call-in, Joe." And it's been a great. This is a particular. Sometimes call-ins are great. Sometimes they're. This one has been like amazing. I also miss spicy sophism. Says parole just means giving your word, same root as parole evidence rule or parlay. I think getting out of prison by promising to be good or POW sent home promising not to fight. Look at spicy sophisms. Just coming there with the English lessons for me. Well done. And aptly named spicy sophisms. What's going on, Heisenberg? I hear all sorts of like grumbling noises in the background there. I don't know what's happening, but
grumbling.
I don't know. It sounds like, I don't know, stomach grumbling, or you're got a fidget spinner.
I'm smoking. I'm smoking.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Yeah. I'm doing all right.
What's
How
on
you
your
been, Joe?
I'm good. What's on your mind tonight, brother?
Well, I wanted to weigh in on your topics there.
Do it.
On the SNAP thing, I feel like that we can afford to, make sure nobody starves or goes hungry. Like, we're, kind of the richest country in the world through our world empire, right? I think the problem we have is that, we had Biden with the open borders policy and, bring everybody in and displace, the labor pool, and make it, hard on the people in the lower echelons, right?
Yep.
So, like, there's going to be a lot of people that, they're not going to be able to get work or not get, good enough work because they brought in this labor pool that, they're used to third world conditions. They live in, 20 a house or something. And not as an insult, that's like, economy, that's what they're used to,
Yep.
And people can't compete with that, and so basically, the whole Biden administration basically just screwed over the lower class of America, and destroyed them. For what reason, I don't know.
For political power. You do know it's for political power, because they're hoping that they're going to get amnesty and vote for him. And also to increase to bulk up their numbers, in particular in Democrat states. So this way they have more voting power in the House. And that's all that matters. Why do you think states were saying, come here, come here, come here? It's because they basically were saying California knew that people are fleeing. New York saw people are fleeing. Illinois people are fleeing.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, come up here. We'll take you. And that way we keep or bulk up our number of representatives in the House.
Yeah, but I don't entirely subscribe to it, but I kind of feel like it's the whole kind of globalist thing of like, we got to bring down America and, create this kind of, new world order, right? Where, America's not the top dog and, that the global South, migrates to the global North. And in some senses, I feel like, I live a privileged life. I live in San Diego County. And I'm not doing bad, so I feel bad for the rest of the world.
You said you're in San Diego?
San Diego County, yeah.
No. So because I spent like 3 days of my life in San Diego, and you had the most pristine weather of any place I've ever been to in my life. I mean, I don't know if I just got there at a good time, but everyone was telling me, no, this is what it's like all the time, and I was just like, damn.
I mean, the weather's, it has seasons, but they're pretty mild. So,
yeah.
The worst it gets is rainy and a little bit cold. So, but so that's what I want to say on that aspect. On the guy, I'm kind of like a pretty staunch libertarian, and like the whole Kathy Griffith thing where she did the mock thing of assassinating Trump or whatever.
Yeah,
I felt like she should not have gotten pulled into anything with that. It's like clearly like art or whatever.
No, I agree with you on that. I agree with you. I think she's revolting. But I think that's clear. That's clearly an expression of speech.
Yeah,
and that's not.
I thought that was really gross, and I think it's kind of gross that we have this special category for President of the United States, but I understand that they want to have like latitude to be able to like check out people that are really nutso, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel like I feel like it's abused, you know.
So you're glad he was acquitted?
Yeah, because it didn't really cross the line. Like you'd have to actually have somebody like some sort of, you know, somebody took him up on it. Like, here, give me the $100, give me $100 or something.
Or
like,
well, that wouldn't be incitement though, because incitement is the speech itself, not the follow through. But I feel as if that speech itself is not something anyone would take seriously. Even Kimmy, when she was saying that was where he crossed the line into doing something illegal, and she's free to feel that way, and I respect that. But my individual perspective is that's not crossing a line, because I don't think anyone would take that seriously. And even if someone results in forming a chat group of, hey, let's start a give, send, go of a donation we'll give to whoever does the deed, that's not at that point. Now they're part of a criminal enterprise. So now that enterprise itself is a crime. But you don't have to go after speech. And I want to try and protect speech any way possible. That would be speech that is in and of itself illegal. Now you're forming it the same way it'd be illegal to form speech where you say, okay, you know, we're going to go in here and, you know, we have a conspiracy is always founded on speech, right? You have a gang getting together and planning out a crime. That's always founded on speech. That's a conspiracy. We all recognize that as being the criminal type of nature of speech. So too, if people are having conversation, that would be a criminal conspiracy to commit murder. So that would be certainly a crime. But the speech that's leading towards that conspiracy being founded, I don't want to. I'm on the same page as you are. I don't think I would have convicted this guy. I would want him canceled. I want him canceled because this guy's an a-hole and he's teaching people. But
yeah, I don't think I'd even charge him. I mean, just because the process is the punishment. Like that's, you know.
No, I agree with you. If I don't think it's a crime, then I don't think he should be charged.
That is rough, you know. Like it's rough to go through a criminal process. So, you know.
I mean, I don't feel much sympathy for him because I think he's an a-hole and he's a douchebag. But I do agree it shouldn't have happened. If that makes sense. Like I don't want to see it happen because I don't want that to be the type of country we become. So
right, and the big problem is that we have a country where he thinks it's okay to say that, you know, like versus, you know, that he actually said it.
But the question is, how much longer are we going to keep having a country like that?
Yeah.
When each side is looking to basically throw the other side in prison for anything and cancel and basically, you know, silencing everyone. What about the SNAP benefits? You think that the people who are saying they're going to steal are on November 1st, so that they should lose their SNAP benefits? You're libertarians. You're going to tell me no.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think if they actually do it or something, they follow through, then like they should be investigated or whatever. But the issue there really is, I mean, it seems like most people are like, I have a hard time believing anybody actually means what they say online. You know, like are they just looking for followers? You know, like you know, trying to monetize their, you know, social position.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't even get SNAP benefits. You know, like how do we know? You know, like I don't buy it.
But the point being that if they do have SNAP benefits, that they should be cut off from them.
Well, then you have to look at, like, you know, is it their kids or them? You know, if it's just them, then sure. But, you know, if there's kids involved, then,
and that's,
you know, we gotta feed the kids.
And that's something an earlier caller was talking about. Like maybe you would reduce their SNAP benefits. Say you lose it, your kids still get. So you used to have for 4 people, now you have for 3.
That doesn't really work.
Why?
Right.
Why?
Oh, because it's still like, you know, the whole point is they need to eat, right?
No, but your kids remain eligible. You don't.
Okay, so like the parent doesn't eat. I mean, the parents will just take their money. You know, that's the way it's gonna work. You know, they'll eat the hose. You know.
But the reality is, you know, he was talking. I think this was the one who had experience working in this industry, and he was saying that if someone commits rampant fraud, then they'll just cut them off. That first they'll cut off for the individual, and then they'll cut off for the kids if there's rampant fraud. And so, that is a policy that has been employed in the past, and I think it's a way of sort of like being like a warning shot, like
no, I agree with that.
don't do that.
But the idea is we want to feed the kids. That's it. Like I don't care about them. They can figure it out.
All right, brother. Thank you so much for the call.
Yeah.
All right. Have a great night, my
Pleasure.
friend. Anthony Finizia. I remember when he was just Soldier of Providence, and now we get his full name here. Don't dox me, bro. Last time we taught the judges were overstepping. Now they're running rampant. We talked about what to do about it. You were a lawyer. I was a soldier. We approach problems differently. I get that. That's true. Your circumstances and backgrounds are definitely going to have an impact as to how you're going to approach situations. So I think I'm getting close to winding down now. And maybe I'll take one more call if it comes in quick. If not, one agree with Quarter Pounder, 2 disagree with Quarter Pounder, 3 who is Joe. That was the pinned message over there that I missed earlier. Somehow I missed that. That's pretty funny. Do we see ones and twos? Did we see ones and twos? I didn't see them. That's still funny. Doesn't make it any less funny just because no one follows through. Just because no one really follows through. All right. I think it's time for me to land the plane. I think it's time. It is time, my friends. Suddenly feeling tired and recognizing it's almost 3 o'clock in the morning. I thank you all for joining me. I hope you had a lovely show. I had an amazing time. Got to talk to some fabulous people. Those of you who called in and participated, I thank you for participation. Those of you who helped sponsor the extra hour of Good Lawgic, I thank you for that as well as each and every one of you who have been watching, paying attention. Hopefully you had a good time, especially when you saw me nearly barf when someone was talking about squirrel Appalachian stew or whatever. I'd go lab meat first, even though I don't eat lab meats, nor should you, because it's not meant for you. It's meant for they, them. It's not meant for you. Don't eat the lab meat. Don't eat Appalachian stew. Why? Don't eat the bugs. Don't do it. Don't do it. Have a good night, everyone. And as always, Godspeed.